Chapter 174. The disciple who broke the record has the right to cultivate a Danding Cliff without using any merit points. I'm so old and muddle-headed. Elder Su slapped his forehead and said. Elder Su, you've worked hard for the Medicine Valley for your whole life. You should have some free time in the future and try to find a breakthrough. The Medicine Valley doesn't want to lose an elder who's devoted to the sect. Yu Yangyu looked at Elder Su with eyes full of respect. Yes, after this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, Elder Su should take a rest. The great elder also nodded. Everyone chatted while watching Night Sorrow recover on the platform. Night Sorrow realized that it was almost impossible to recover to the peak here. Because while recovering, he had to contend with the energy from Danding Peak, which was constantly consuming. However, this kind of cultivation allowed him to improve very quickly. What was consumed could be recovered, but the amount of true qi in his dantian and the energy in his body was constantly increasing. In other words, once he stopped consuming and recovered to the peak state, the improvement in his cultivation would be obvious. This effect was also very obvious in refining the concentration of true qi. Under such high pressure, not only would the true qi be refined, but it would also refine the true qi that he had cultivated in the past. It was the same for the strengthening of his body. The energy in his body was constantly increasing, and it would also refine the energy in his body. After recovering to 90% of his peak state, Night Sorrow stood up and stretched out his arms to welcome the pressure. At the same time, he looked down at Danding Cliff. When he found that no one was cultivating, he let out a sigh of relief. It feels good to stand at a high place and look at the scenery. Damn! He climbed so high just to look at the scenery. Chu Ning couldn't help but complain. Heartless. Yang Lei rubbed her forehead. She was also speechless at Night Sorrow's words. He has a good attitude. He doesn't care about fame or fortune. He just climbed for the sake of climbing. He has grasped the concept of Wuwei Peak. Hua Yunping said with a smile. After feeling the impact for a while, Night Sorrow looked at the platform. He felt that the platform had a circumference of 1 zhang, which was quite big. He took out his reincarnation spear and practiced his spear art on the platform. I can't watch this anymore. I'm going back to cultivate. Shi Tianlin was somewhat agitated. Valley Master, all of you should go back. I'll stay here and watch over this kid. Hua Yunping said to Yu Yangyu and the others. After that, he disappeared from Night Sorrow's sight and landed on the platform 5,000 meters above Danding Cliff. That works too. Tang Tian's eyes widened. To have a great clan elder looking after him, what kind of treatment was that? Why not? You guys are doomed. You guys are getting further and further away from your 13th uncle, Gong Xian said with a sigh. Tang Tian and Chu Ning were somewhat helpless. Night Sorrow's speed was too ridiculous. They were indeed somewhat unable to catch up. They were no longer on the same level. Under the pressure, Night Sorrow executed his chasing wind spear art, perfecting the flaws in his spear art. After he finished practicing his spear art, Night Sorrow executed the Jin Yu hand, exhausting the energy in his body, and then meditated to cultivate. Alright, everyone go back. Tomorrow is the disciple recruitment ceremony. Go do what you need to do. Yu Yangyu and the great clan elder stood up and left. Let's go too. 13th uncle is having too much fun. Who knows how long he'll stay up there for. Yang Lei understood Night Sorrow well. She knew that when Night Sorrow was cultivating, he was extremely stubborn and crazy. In a pavilion not far behind Danding Peak's main hall, Su Chenbai's face was cold. Su Mu, who was standing not far from him, was punching and releasing repeatedly. Su Chenbai did not bring any other disciple from Nine Peak to Danding Peak. He only brought Su Mu to Danding Peak. The reason was that Sumu had only been in the sect for a short time and needed to be taken care of. Master, I want to go to Danding Cliff another day. If he can reach 4,800 meters, then I want to give it a try. Sumu's eyes were filled with ferocity. No need. In 2 days, I'll send you away to a better place, Su Chenbai said after thinking for a while. Then I'll listen to Master. I don't believe that I can't kill him. Sumu's words were filled with killing intent. During this period of time, his cultivation had increased rapidly. He was already at the peak of the 8th level of element gathering tier. We'll talk about this later. Don't go to Danding Cliff. Su Chenbai directly interrupted Sumu. The Medicine Valley's apprenticeship ceremony was held as scheduled. This time, there were many people who came to participate. There were thousands of people, which was several times more than last year. The main reason was that the Medicine Valley announced that it would relax the entry requirements. Since there were many people who came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony, there were also many people who came to watch the ceremony. They all hoped that their own members could enter the Medicine Valley. Some time ago, the Medicine Valley forcefully expelled the Golden Flame sect's influence, which made the Medicine Valley's reputation reach an unprecedented height. This time, the host was Yen Bebe. However, all the peak masters also came. The Medicine Valley's development path had changed. It wanted to rise at full speed, so all the peaks had to recruit new people. However, this time, the newcomers were mainly from Taishan Peak, North Peak, and Crepe Myrtle. The number of disciples in these 3 peaks was less. This was known by all in the Medicine Valley. The apprenticeship ceremony was still the same, but the entry requirements were lowered. The minimum entry requirement to enter the sect was back to the original level of chi refining. The distance of the golden test pillar was also shortened. In addition, the number of laps around Bluestone Peak was also reduced to 14 laps. The climb of Danding Cliff was set at 2,500 meters. As long as one could pass all the tests, he or she could enter the Medicine Valley. This was good news for all the teenagers who came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony. The chances of entering the Medicine Valley had increased a lot. There were some mistakes in last year's decision. The first elder, who was sitting beside Yu Yangyu, knocked on the ground with his walking stick and said, "The situation is different. At that time, we should have kept a low profile. Now, there's no difference between keeping a low profile and keeping a high profile." Yu Yangyu said. Last year, the Medicine Valley didn't have any conflict with the Golden Flame sect. Therefore, keeping a low profile could reduce the hostility of the Golden Flame sect. Now that hostility had arisen and a conflict had broken out, there was no difference between keeping a low profile and keeping a high profile. Whether the entry requirements are lowered or not, the Valley Master has gained a lot. This last disciple is really domineering. Yi Xiling, the peak master of Crepe Myrtle, said with a smile. It's not that the disciple is good. It's Night Sorrow's own hard work. Yuan Tai, the peak master of Wangyun Peak, said. Peace Soul E positive, T version, U. The others are all ex-robbers, T version. L. After the conflict between the Medicine Valley and the Golden Flame sect, the unity of the Medicine Valley had increased a lot. For example, Yuan Tai and Jean Can, who didn't get along well with Yu Yangyu, had expressed their goodwill. But sometimes, they still had to say a few words. Of course, it was harmless. Indeed. 13 has done well. Yu Yangyu nodded. Chapter 175. You will be shocked tomorrow, the great elder said with a smile. He didn't come last year. Otherwise, who knows which peak Night Sorrow is from? Yi Xiling glanced at Yu Yangyu and said. Ahem. He went to Taishan Peak with the Valley Master, but he went to Crepe Myrtle. Who knows what he looks like now? Duan Lei coughed and said. Duanlei, what do you mean? Are you looking down on Crepe Myrtle? Yi Xiling slapped the armrest of the chair and glared at Duanlei. Alright, Xiling, why are you still so grumpy? The Great Elder said. Of course, Yi Xiling and Duanlei were just bickering. Yi Xiling glared at Duanlei and didn't say anything. She could throw a tantrum at Duanlei, but she had to respect the Great Elder. While they were talking, the exam was still going on. Soon, the first 2 rounds were over, and the 3rd round was about to begin. Yan Beibei stood up and announced a new rule. Those who affected others would be eliminated. Because of the precedent of Qin Hai attacking Knight Sorrow last year, he didn't want it to happen again. After this round, a portion of people were eliminated. There were still about 2,000 people left. Today's exam was over. The Medicine Valley sent a high-level law enforcement team to patrol the Grass Valley. The team was led by a group of 4th-rank cultivators. They were much stronger than last year. They were mainly worried that the Golden Flame sect would come and cause trouble. Newcomers were the future of a sect. No matter which sect they were in, they would be valued. Knight Sorrow was still cultivating. Fortunately, he had wine, meat jerky, and fasting pills in his storage ring. It wasn't a problem for him to stay here for a while. During this time, many disciples of the Yuan Gathering realm came. There were even some in the Core Condensation realm. They all knew that the Yuan Gathering realm record was broken at Danding Cliff. However, they were immediately warned by Elder Su not to make any noise. Now that his cultivation had recovered, Knight Sorrow stood up to practice his spear arts and suppressing mountain hands. Now that his Jin Qi and myriad Tao Tome's energy had been depleted, he continued to meditate and recover. Time meant nothing to him. 5,000 meters above Knight Sorrow's head, Hua Yunping was quietly meditating. He was well aware of Knight Sorrow's situation. He always felt that Knight Sorrow was more like a disciple of Wu Wei Peak. He had no distractions. Climbing the Danding Cliff was just climbing the Danding Cliff. He was just looking at the scenery. Records were not important. Now, he was cultivating. There was nothing else. When night fell, Knight Sorrow became well-behaved. He didn't want to accidentally fall because he was practicing his spear arts. If that happened, he would lose his life. He didn't know that he was being protected. Now that he had recovered to his peak condition, he felt that the 2 days of cultivation had been more effective than the past 10 days. Not only had his cultivation increased by a lot, but his true qi and the energy of the myriad Daos tome had also become more condensed. Knight Sorrow, who was in a good mood, took out the only jar of green blood wine he had left. He opened it and poured a bowl for himself. Then, he drank it in one gulp. At this time, Hua Yunping, who was on the platform, stood up. He also wanted to drink. With 2 flashes, Hua Yunping appeared in front of Knight Sorrow. Ah! Knight Sorrow was so scared that he took a few steps back. He almost fell off the platform. In the end, he used his hands to support himself on the cliff. Otherwise, he would have really fallen off. You little brat, why are you so cowardly? Hua Yunping sized up Yi Shang and said. You're scaring me to death. I didn't see anyone climbing up from below. Knight Sorrow returned to the platform and poured a bowl of wine for Hua Yunping. I didn't climb up. I flew down from above. Hua Yunping drank a mouthful of wine. Suddenly, his eyes widened. The wine was too fragrant and too strong. Ah, it's the Grand Elder. Knight Sorrow didn't pay attention at first. He thought that it was a disciple of the Medicine Valley who was climbing Danding Cliff. But when he paid attention, Knight Sorrow realized that he had seen Hua Yunping once. Hua Yunping shook his head. He pulled the hem of his robe and sat down. Then, he pointed at Knight Sorrow's wine bowl, indicating that Knight Sorrow should fill it to the brim. Seeing that Hua Yunping didn't want to talk, Night Sorrow poured the wine for him and drank it himself. After 2 bowls, Hua Yunping exhaled. This is really good wine. This is the only half jar left. Take it, Grand Elder. Night Sorrow closed the wine jar in his hand and handed it to Hua Yunping. Do you need my help with anything? Hua Yunping glanced at the half jar of wine in front of him and asked. No, I will try my best to do it. This wine is for the elders of the sect. Night Sorrow shook his head and said. Then what about the things that you can't do? Hua Yunping asked again. If I try my best, I can do it. If I can't, then it means that I didn't put in enough effort. Night Sorrow replied. Cultivate well. Hua Yunping stood up and nodded at Night Sorrow. Then, he left in a flash. When he left, he didn't forget to take the half jar of wine with him. He was very satisfied with Night Sorrow's answer. At the same time, he was also very shocked. His mind was so pure and stubborn that it was scary. Night Sorrow didn't care about why Hua Yunping appeared. The Grand Elder of the sect was rarely seen. It was normal for him to appear here. After using a fusion palms to deplete his true qi and the energy of the myriad Tao Tome, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. Ji Shengelit was very rare to increase one's cultivation without any drawbacks. The speed was comparable to the spirit gathering array. Moreover, there were no drawbacks. There were drawbacks to cultivating in the spirit gathering array. Although the cultivation speed was fast, there would be a lack of energy and an unstable foundation. This definitely wouldn't happen at Danding Cliff. He couldn't understand why the Medicine Valley set such a high merit point limit. If the limit was lower, wouldn't the disciples of the sect be able to cultivate quickly without any drawbacks? Although he couldn't figure out these problems, Night Sorrow felt that it was more important to turn the benefits into actual strength. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, Hua Yunping was still drinking on the 5 kilometers platform. He was still thinking about Night Sorrow's words. Simple and direct. Everything could be solved easily. If you didn't succeed, it meant that you didn't put in enough effort. His words were simple and crude. If he couldn't break through, could he do the same? While Hua Yunping was thinking, time passed slowly. He knew that the place he was sitting now would soon be overtaken by the kid below, and even higher. At dawn, under the lead of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley, thousands of people arrived at Danding Cliff. The members who were going to participate in the assessment stood at the foot of Danding Cliff. Some of the original members of the Medicine Valley went to the mountain peak opposite Danding Cliff because they could see more clearly from there. Many people wanted to see a figure on Danding Cliff. At this moment, Night Sorrow was cultivating the wind-chasing spear art. Under the pressure from Danding Cliff, it was easier to find flaws and drawbacks in the cultivation of the spear art. Only by finding the flaws could he perfect it. Chapter 176. Reaching a height of 4,800 meters at the 6th level of Element Gathering Tier, that's really unbelievable. Yi Xiling praised. Although she was a little depressed because she was not a member of Crepe Myrtle, she still had to acknowledge his excellence. Why didn't he continue? Go a little higher. Yang Lei said anxiously. She was looking forward to seeing Night Sorrow leave a better record for the future generations of Medicine Valley. At the same time, it would be a monument that would be passed down. Going too far is as bad as falling short. That place is suitable for him to cultivate. It's quite good, Yu Yangyu said with a smile. He was really happy that Night Sorrow could reach a height of 4,800 meters and still know when to stop and cultivate diligently. Master, we'll go and try later, Chu Ning, who was standing beside Gong Xian, said. No, don't come here to cultivate if you're not in the later stage of Element Gathering Tier. Merit points are hard to come by. You have to cherish every opportunity to cultivate at Danding Cliff, Gong Xian rejected directly. Master, merit points are too hard to earn. A sect mission only costs 2 to 3 points. Why is the price so high? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Because we can't damage the energy circulation of Danding Cliff. Don't ask anymore. Gong Xian turned around and glared at Tang Tian. There were many seniors in the sect. How could a junior disciple keep talking? They would be criticized for being unruly. It's nothing. Gong Xian, tell them about the situation at Danding Cliff in detail. There's a reason why the sect set such a rule, the great elder said. Indeed, many disciples of Medicine Valley had the same question. Other than the senior disciples, ordinary people really did not know. Then, Gong Xian's explanation made everyone understand. The energy of Danding Cliff came from the 8-dragon cauldron, which was the spiritual weapon of the sect. The energy was absorbed by Danding Cliff and returned to the 8-dragon cauldron. If the energy was absorbed by the cultivator, it would disappear. If too much energy disappeared, it would affect the 8-dragon cauldron. The Medicine Valley wouldn't take this risk. If the 8-dragon cauldron was affected, the medicine cauldron's spiritual liquid would be gone. After Gong Xian's explanation, everyone finally understood why the Medicine Valley was so strict with their disciples coming to Danding Cliff to cultivate. It was because there were too many implications. While Gong Xian was explaining to everyone, Night Sorrow continued to meditate and cultivate. The examiners below also began to rush up. This was an opportunity for a carp to leap over the dragon's gate. Entering the Medicine Valley and not entering the Medicine Valley in the future would be completely different in terms of difficulty and achievement. These youths were all of high quality. They only felt the difficulty when they reached 1,800 meters. Hey, have you heard? Last year, there was a guy at the 3rd level of Qi refining who managed to reach 3,000 meters. How did he manage to reach that height? I'm already at the 6th level of Qi refining and I can't stand it anymore, a youth asked the person beside him. Of course I know. In order to prepare for this year's examination, I came to watch the ceremony last year. That person is called Night Sorrow. He is indeed at the 3rd level of Qi refining. He was one of the 26 people who entered the Medicine Valley last year. In the competition for the newcomers, he won the title of Newcomer's King, a girl in gorgeous tights said. That's amazing. You should know that most of the examiners are at the 7th or 8th level of Qi refining. He was only at the 3rd level of Qi refining for a year and he won the title of Newcomer's King. That's unbelievable, a youth standing on top of several people said. You know too little. I know his achievements. Not only is he the Newcomer's King, he is also the top of the Medicine Valley's Yuan Gathering leaderboard. In other words, he is the most amazing person under the 3rd level of Medicine Valley. Do you understand? This time, I'm going to join the Taishan Peak. Remember me, my name is He Miao, a girl in silk tights said. I'm also here for the Taishan Peak. The disciples of the Taishan Peak are very domineering. They are famous even in my hometown, a dignified youth who climbed up behind her said. Since all of you are going to join the Taishan Peak, then I'll go too. Maybe I can become the junior brother of the top of the Yuan Gathering leaderboard, a guy took a break and quickly climbed up. Just give up on that idea. That Night Sorrow has already been accepted as the last disciple of the Taishan Peak's Peak Master. Oh right, the Taishan Peak's Peak Master is now the Valley Master. He is the last disciple of the Valley Master, He Miao said to that guy and quickly climbed up to surpass everyone. So he has such a strong background. No wonder he is so powerful, a youth in black said. Shut up. If you say anything bad about him, I will fall out with you. Hearing the words of the youth in black, He Miao immediately became unhappy. Chapter 177. Yes, someone is practicing with the spear. It's the Lord Night Sorrow you mentioned, Enlightenment curled his lips and said. Qiming curled his lips. He had only climbed to 4,200 meters, but Night Sorrow had already reached 4,800 meters. This deeply irritated him. How high did he climb? He can still practice with the spear, asked the man in black. He was the one who said that Night Sorrow's achievements depended on his background. 4,800 meters. I heard what you said back then. Yi Shang's achievements today are all the result of his own hard work. It's not because he's someone's disciple. When he climbed 3,000 meters in the third level of Qi refinement, he hadn't joined the Medicine Valley yet. How high do you think you can climb if you control your cultivation to the third level of Qi refinement? Qiming asked the young man in black. That's amazing. Lord Enlightenment, what's Lord Night Sorrow's cultivation level now? He Miao asked excitedly. 6th level of element gathering tier. However, you can't judge this guy based on his cultivation level. He has already broken the record of climbing Danding Cliff in the element gathering tier. You all have to work hard in this direction, Enlightenment said. Qiming said. He was also saying this to himself. Originally, he thought that he was on par with Yi Shang. Even if Yi Shang defeated Shi Yunxiao, he didn't think that he was much stronger than him. Today, he knew that the gap between the two of them was huge. Soon, the fourth test ended. The Medicine Valley sent out flying beasts to pick up the examinees who were hanging on Danding Cliff. The entrance ceremony of the Medicine Valley was also held at the foot of Danding Cliff. This time, there were more than 600 people who passed the test. With so many people participating and the lowered standards, the number of people who passed was many times more than the previous test. Yu Yangyu stood up and walked to the front of this group of people. I'm very happy to see that you all passed the entrance test. Now, it's time for you to choose which peak to join. Those who choose Taixian Peak, stand 10 feet to the east. Those who choose Naining Peak, stand 10 feet to the west. Those who choose Crepe Myrtle, stand here and don't move, Yu Yangyu announced. After Yu Yangyu finished speaking, the examinees who passed the test began to riot and then split up. After that, the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley had different expressions on their faces. Some were smiling, some were surprised, and some were angry. Of the more than 600 people who passed the assessment, nearly 500 ran to the east. The remaining 100 people didn't move. Only a dozen people went to the west. There was also a good-natured young man who ran from the west to the east. At this time, Chu Lingxiao's body flashed and blocked in front of the dignified youth. Didn't you choose Naining Peak? Why are you still running around? Replying to Lord, this disciple came to the Medicine Valley's apprenticeship ceremony for Taixian Peak. I don't distinguish between east, west, north, and south. I only know left and right. I just asked and found out that I ran in the wrong direction, the dignified youth said with some embarrassment. Pfft. Many of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley couldn't help but laugh. Nowadays, there were still people who didn't distinguish between east, west, north, and south. Okay. You can go. Chu Lingxiao returned to his original position and glanced at Su Qinbai. It wasn't his fault that Naining Peak couldn't accept disciples. It was Su Qinbai's fault for ruining its reputation. Valley Master, this won't do. We accepted 600 people, but 500 of them were taken by Taixian Peak. This doesn't make sense. Seeing that most of the disciples were taken by Taixian Peak, Yi Xiling was unwilling. This was also the reason why Chu Lingxiao didn't say anything. He knew that Yi Xiling would say something. Peak Master Yi, this is their own choice. No one forced them to choose Taixian Peak. We have to respect the disciples' wishes, Gong Xian said. Although his seniority was lower than Yi Xiling's, when it came to the interests of Taixian Peak, Gong Xian wasn't willing to back down. Don't tell me that if all the disciples choose Taixian Peak in the future, the other peaks won't accept disciples? Yi Xiling looked at Gong Xian and said with a glare. It's also a skill to be able to make a new disciple choose you. If you want to accept disciples, then you have to work hard to make a name for yourself. Gong Xian's voice wasn't loud, but his words were sharp. What he meant was that Taishan Peak had a reputation. If they wanted to accept disciples, then they had to make a name for themselves. You bastard, do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson? Yi Xiling was angry. She was about to attack Gong Xian, her silver hair fluttering in the wind. Although Yi Xiling was very old, her silver hair was her signature. Her face looked like she was in her 30s. If Martial Ant wants to teach him a lesson, then Gong Xian will accept it. But when it comes to accepting disciples, we have to follow the rules. Gong Xian refused to back down. Original WP first 2 posts /alright, stop arguing. Come here. Let me ask you, why did you join Taishan Peak? Grand Elder stopped Yi Xiling, who was about to flip out, and waved at He Miao. Milord, it's because Lord Knight Sorrow is from Taishan Peak. He Miao bowed. Yes, he's here for 13. Of course, we can't refuse him. Then, come here. Why did you join Taishan Peak? Grand Elder asked, pointing at the dignified youth who had made a mistake. Milord, this disciple is from South Sky City. Taishan Peak has 2 lords from South Sky City. I've never heard of Nine Peak. Crepe Myrtle is full of women. I won't go, the dignified youth said. You bastard who can't even differentiate between east, west, north, and south. Even if you gave us Crepe Myrtle, we wouldn't want you, Yi Xiling shouted angrily after hearing the youth's words. I can't differentiate between east, west, north, and south, but my father said that differentiating between left and right is enough. Also, I'm not a bastard, I'm called Xiang Ding. The youth looked at Yi Xiling with dissatisfaction. Aoi wanted to laugh, but she held it in. She couldn't help but turn around and lean on Yang Lei. Her body kept twitching as she tried to hold back her laughter. What are you laughing at? There are no good people in Taishan Peak. If you don't want to be my Crepe Myrtle disciple, then give the one up there to my Crepe Myrtle. Yi Xiling pointed at the top of Danding Cliff. No. Impossible. Yi Xiling's words caused the 11 disciples under Taishan Peak Yu Yangyu to react. They all stood up. Are you guys rebelling? Yi Xiling pointed at Wu Qi, Hua Nan, Yang Lei and the rest. Xiling, you can't take Night's Sorrow with you. He wouldn't even go to Danding Peak when the Valley Lord brought him there. If you want him to go to Crepe Myrtle, he definitely won't agree. The Great Elder laughed. How would I know if I don't ask? Crepe Myrtle will do its best to nurture him. Also, we have many female disciples in Crepe Myrtle. If we arrange 10 wives for him in the future, I don't believe he won't go. Yi Xiling looked at the female disciples behind her and said. Yi Xiling's words made the female disciples of Crepe Myrtle blush. Their peak lord was putting in a lot of effort and didn't even care about them. Chapter 178. How about this, all the female disciples will be taken away by Crepe Myrtle if there is no special reason. Yu Yangyu said. If he didn't say anything, who knew what other things Yi Xiling would say? There are only 40 or 50 female disciples. Yi Xiling was still somewhat dissatisfied, but she didn't say anything against it. After all, Yu Yangyu's words were the Valley Master's decree, and couldn't be questioned. In the future, all the female disciples will be taken away by Crepe Myrtle if there is no special reason, Yu Yangyu said to Yi Xiling. Crepe Myrtle thanks the Valley Master. Yi Xiling bowed to Yu Yangyu. She knew that Yu Yangyu was taking care of Crepe Myrtle. Valley Master, what about our Nine Peak? Seeing that the problem with Crepe Myrtle had been solved, Chu Lingxiao asked. This time, you will take 200 people back. The rest will be taken by Taishan Peak. If you want the young people to yearn for it, then make Nainin Peak famous. In the future, no one will be taken care of. From the next ceremony onwards, except for the female disciples who don't have any special requirements will be taken by Crepe Myrtle, everyone else will be subject to the opinions of the disciples. Yu Yangyu said to Gong Xian. Yes, but Taishan Peak's fame isn't due to Peak Master Gong. Chu Lingxiao looked at Gong Xian and said. Taishan Peak was the biggest winner in this ceremony, so of course he was unhappy. I-oh. Peak Master Chu Lingxiao, are you provoking Taishan Peak? Let's exchange pointers. Yang Lei stepped forward and looked at Chu Lingxiao with a smile on her face. She was now stronger than Chu Lingxiao, so she was confident that she could exchange pointers with him. You. Don't forget that you are now the mayor of Danding City, an elder of Medicine Valley, not an elder of Taishan Peak. Your territory is in Danding City. You have no business here. Chu Lingxiao glared at Yang Lei. You. Yang Lei pointed at Chu Lingxiao, but she couldn't refute him. Because once one became an elder of the Medicine Valley, he would belong to the entire Medicine Valley. Chu Lingxiao, I don't want to bully you, so don't cause trouble. No matter where my 9th junior sister is, she is still a member of Taishan Peak. Gong Xian stood up and said. Good, good. The sect needs this kind of competition. But I won't forgive anyone who goes overboard, the first elder said with a smile. The first elder is right. The sect needs competition. Only with competition can there be vitality. Qian, bring these new disciples back. When you have time, you can contact Night Sorrow. If he is willing to come to Crepe Myrtle, then what I said just now will be effective at any time. Yi Xiling glanced at Gong Xian, then turned and left. Before she left, she threw a bomb. She was going to continue to poach Night Sorrow. What did she say just now? As long as Night Sorrow went to Crepe Myrtle, she would arrange 10 wives for him. This made the other wolves jealous. What kind of treatment was this? It was a blessing. The crowd in front of Danding Cliff quickly dispersed. The new members were taken away by Taishan Peak, Nainin Peak, and Crepe Myrtle. The higher-ups of Medicine Valley also left. This time, the apprenticeship ceremony was over. Night Sorrow was still cultivating on top of Danding Cliff. He was now like a thirsty person who had encountered a sweet spring. He didn't need the help of medicinal pills at all, and he could achieve better results than medicinal pills. How could he not work hard? Hua Yunpeng had always seen Night Sorrow's hard work. This made him very satisfied and impressed. He had been the Valley Master for many years, but he had never seen a disciple with a temperament like Night Sorrow. Even his disciples, Shui and Chu Lingxiao, couldn't compare. When his true Qi and myriad Tao Tome's energy were exhausted, Night Sorrow meditated to recover. When he recovered, he continued to cultivate. When he was mentally exhausted, Night Sorrow inserted the reincarnation spear into the crevice of the pill tripod cliff and used his clothes to connect himself to the reincarnation spear. He laid on the platform and took a light nap. If he didn't do this, he was afraid that he would fall down. 6 or 7 days passed in this cultivation session. Every day, there would be disciples from the Medicine Valley coming to the opposite mountain peak to see this freakishly awesome person. On the evening of the 7th day, Night Sorrow recovered and was about to practice his spear arts when Hua Yunping appeared. You should rest. Night Sorrow bowed to Hua Yunping and said, Disciple has about 300 merit points, which can be used for 10 days. Disciple intends to use them all up before leaving. Hua Yunping smiled and told Night Sorrow that disciples who broke the record did not need to pay contribution points to cultivate at Danding Cliff. Ah. That's great, then I can come here to cultivate without any restrictions in the future. After hearing Hua Yunping's words, Night Sorrow was so excited that he almost jumped up. To him, this was great news. Update carrot new, as soon as p***, you're so happy. Don't you feel tired? Hua Yunping asked. I'm a little tired. I've been worried about wasting time and wasting merit points, so I've been in a hurry to cultivate. Night Sorrow nodded. He was indeed a little tired, mentally tired. Very honest. On the path of cultivation, you can't always be tense. You have to have a balance between tension and relaxation. Go back and rest for a while before coming back. Hua Yunping said to Night Sorrow. He knew that if he didn't stop him, Night Sorrow would continue to cultivate for a long time. He might even stay at Danding Cliff forever. Bowing to Hua Yunping, Night Sorrow placed the reincarnation spear behind his back and said, Disciple will return first. Hua Yunping smiled and said, Go on. Night Sorrow waved his arm and Tianyu appeared. Due to the impact of Danding Cliff's energy, Tianyu's height was reduced by 60 to 70 feet. Only when he was 20 feet away from Danding Cliff did Tianyu escape from the suppression of Danding Cliff's energy. Then, he flew back to Night Sorrow's height. Night Sorrow violently struck his palm at Danding Cliff. Borrowing the rebounding force, he executed dragon leap steps and landed on Tianyu's back. With the pressure gone, Night Sorrow felt very relaxed. He roared to the sky and controlled Tianyu to leave. Full of youthfulness, it's good to be young. Looking at Night Sorrow's back, Hua Yunping muttered softly. Night Sorrow controlled Tianyu and flew towards Danding Peak. He wanted to greet Yu Yangyu first before returning to Taishan Peak. In the main hall of Danding Peak, Night Sorrow saw Yu Yangyu and the Great Elder. Disciple greets Master and Great Elder. Night Sorrow bowed to Yu Yangyu and the Great Elder. Not bad, you're not far from the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Once you reach the 7th level of Element Gathering tier, you can eat the Element Gathering pill and go to Danding Cliff to consolidate your cultivation. Soon, you'll be able to reach the 8th level of Element Gathering tier. Yu Yangyu looked at Night Sorrow and nodded in satisfaction. 13. There are actually many things you can do other than cultivating. You're not familiar with the Medicine Valley. If you have nothing to do, you should walk around and relax. Crepe Myrtle even invited you over. If you have time, go take a look. There are good things waiting for you. The Great Elder said with a smile. At the same time, he left a trap for Night Sorrow. Chapter 179. Crepe Myrtle. Oh, I've seen Crepe Myrtle's Lanyu before, but I'm not too familiar with her. Since she invited me, I'll go and take a look, Night Sorrow nodded. Alright, go back. Let your 6th senior sister arrange a good meal for you. You haven't even had a full meal these past few days, Yu Yangyu said. Alright, then I'll go back first, Night Sorrow nodded and left Danding Palace. He rode on Tianyu and flew towards Taishan Peak. Great Elder, isn't this a trap for 13? If he goes to Crepe Myrtle, can he handle Peak Lord Ye's forces? Yu Yangyu looked at Great Elder and asked. 13 has no problems in other areas, but in the area of women, he needs to go through some tests. That way, he won't be taken advantage of in the future. I believe in his determination, Great Elder said with a smile. Yu Yangyu shook his head helplessly. When Great Elder said that, he knew that it was a trap, but he didn't remind Night Sorrow. He knew that Great Elder had a reason for saying that. It was just as he had guessed. After returning to Taishan Peak, Night Sorrow went straight to the Bamboo Grove house. It wasn't convenient to go there. In the Bamboo Grove house, Night Sorrow saw Aoi, Yang Lei, Huanan, and Gong Xian, as well as a few dozen newcomers. Only C, Jing edition C $, F, He, G, are all robbers WM edition Phi, 13, you're back. Your cultivation level is rising fast enough. You're not far from the 7th level of element gathering tier, Gong Xian greeted him. Cultivating at Dan Ding Cliff, my cultivation level is rising fast. However, the elders of the sect don't want me to stay there forever, Night Sorrow said with a nod. Today, 6th senior sister will arrange good food and wine to reward you. Shenrong, bring them over to greet Martial Uncle 13, Aoi called out to her eldest disciple, Shenrong. Now that Shenrong had leveled up, he had many junior brothers and 2 junior sisters under him. Everyone, come over quickly and pay your respects to 13th Martial Uncle. Shenrong shouted at the group of newcomers. Night Sorrow was not used to more than 20 bows. He even wanted to bow back. Fortunately, Aoi stopped him. It would be funny if a martial uncle bowed back to his martial nephew. Seeing that Night Sorrow was not used to it, Aoi sent the disciples to the side. 13. Taishan Peak is accepting disciples this time. I didn't make any arrangements for you, and you don't have the energy to teach others right now, Gong Xian stated his decision. Thank you, eldest senior brother. If you really arranged it for me, then I would really be finished. How can I teach others now? I need others to guide me in my own cultivation. I don't want them in the future. Night Sorrow directly expressed his opinion. He didn't want a group of burdens following behind him. Okay, what's your next plan? Gong Xian looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I spent more than 10 days on the mission last time. This was also the reason why one had to be at the 3rd tier to use the blood essence pill. After drinking with everyone for a while, Night Sorrow went to rest. This time, it was just a simple rest. He was mentally exhausted these past few days. After resting for a night, he got up and practiced his spear techniques. Night Sorrow saw Yang Lei coming over. Let's have breakfast and then we'll leave. Okay. At this moment, Night Sorrow remembered the Great Elder's words. Crepe Myrtle had invited him. However, he felt that he could go after completing the mission. It wouldn't delay anything. After eating breakfast, Yang Lei told Jiang Ziming something. Then, she and Night Sorrow rode Tianyu and the Green Condor to Danding City. After arriving at Yang Lei's mansion in Danding City, Night Sorrow asked the servants to feed Tianyu. Then, he got up and went to Tianji Tower. Seeing Night Sorrow, the receptionist who looked down on Night Sorrow sent Night Sorrow to the top floor where Enforcer Dong was. It's the end of the month, not the beginning of the month. Did you remember the wrong date? Seeing Night Sorrow, Enforcer Dong felt a little strange. I know it's the end of the month. I'm here today to invite Enforcer Dong for a drink. We'll talk about the mission tomorrow. Night Sorrow found a seat and sat down. Okay. Enforcer Dong put down what he was doing and sat down opposite Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out a jar of 100 herbs wine and some jerky and placed them on the table. Not bad. You broke the record of Danding Cliff in the Medicine Valley for thousands of years. That's very impressive. Enforcer Dong said with a smile. Chapter 180. The Celestial Terminus Tower is well informed. Without a channel, how can they issue missions and collect mission information? But they don't have any bad intentions, Enforcer Dong said with a smile. Let's not talk about their bad intentions. This ability is really creepy. Tianji Tower doesn't participate in the power struggle in various regions. If they did, who would be a match for Tianjin Tower? Besides, just because they don't fight for power now doesn't mean they won't fight for power in the future. Night Sorrow was quite touched. But after thinking about it, he felt that when he climbed Danding Cliff, there were many people watching the ceremony. It was normal for Tianjin Tower to know about the news. Night Sorrow, work harder. You won't have any problems in Black Tower, Enforcer Dong said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. This was what he was working towards. Another reason he came here was to see if there was a letter from Sikong Chuyu. However, he didn't ask because there was no need. If there was a letter, Enforcer Dong would tell him. Since he didn't say anything, it meant that there wasn't a letter. After drinking a jar of wine with Enforcer Dong, Night Sorrow left. Before he left, he used a low-grade spiritual stone to exchange for a yin-yang formation diagram. Although he was a little disappointed that there was no letter from Sikong Chuyu, it didn't affect Night Sorrow's mood. "You're back," Yang Lei greeted when she saw Night Sorrow coming back. "Senior sister, I have something to discuss with you," Night Sorrow said. Yang Lei nodded and took Night Sorrow to the study of her mansion. She knew that Night Sorrow wouldn't be so serious if it wasn't something important. In Yang Lei's study, Night Sorrow told her that he wanted to go to Lushan Venerable's cave residence. "That's fine too. You go and accept the mission tomorrow, and then senior sister will accompany you." Yang Lei nodded. In the past, she had been worried about Yi Shang's safety and did not want him to go. However, now that Yi Shang had grown up, it was easy for accidents to happen. If a cultivator with heaven-defying luck appeared, they might discover the location of Lushan Supremacy's cave abode. At that time, Yi Shang's opportunity would be theirs. After resting for a night, Yi Shang went to the Extreme Heaven Tower early in the morning. Yi Shang once again met acquaintances. These acquaintances were none other than Qin Zhan and Kong Jun. Yi Shang didn't pay attention to the two and directly brought them to the entrance to wait. "Martial uncle, are you serious?" When Night Sorrow was resting with his eyes closed, Shi Yunhai appeared. When he saw Night Sorrow, he was a little depressed. "I'm sorry, but I'll just sweep the place once more. I won't fight with you guys anymore. By the way, how's your brother?" Night Sorrow asked Shi Yunhai apologetically. "He has already broken through to rank 3. He will probably go to Danding Cliff to cultivate in the near future. He won't come out to do any missions," Shi Yunhai said. "Congratulate him for me." After saying that, Night Sorrow saw the door of Tianji Tower open and walked in. Night Sorrow had just entered when he heard a commotion coming from behind. "Why are you squeezing?" It was Shi Yunhai's voice. Shi Yunhai had a conflict with Qin Zhan and Kong Jun. "We came first," Kong Jun said. "Believe it or not, I'll follow you every day. Every time you do a mission, I'll disrupt it," Shi Yunhai said. "Are you trying to scare me?" Kong Jun said coldly. "You can try. Why don't you go in first and let me have a look?" Shi Yunhai really stepped aside. "Well, if you want to go in, then go in quickly." Qin Zhan pulled Kong Jun and said to Shi Yunhai. His face was very ugly. He knew that Shi Yunhai would really do it. If he provoked Shi Yunhai, then his life would not be easy. "Kid, you're still too inexperienced. You found the wrong person to play with me." Shi Yunhai despised Qin Zhan and Kong Jun and entered the lobby of Tianji Tower. "Senior brother." Kong Jun looked at Qin Zhan puzzledly. "Be quiet in the future. Don't provoke people if you don't have anything to do. Keep your eyes open." Qin Zhan snapped at Kong Jun. He was annoyed in his heart. If it wasn't for Qin Hai provoking Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have lost face. Now, even Luo Daoyuan didn't like him. Night Sorrow saw Enforcer Dong as soon as he entered the lobby of Tianji Tower. Enforcer Dong waved at Night Sorrow and brought Night Sorrow to the counter. "Try harder. This time, it's almost done," Enforcer Dong said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He gestured with his fingers and accepted the bronze difficulty. He didn't stop until he felt that there was no problem to promote to silver. As for the black iron difficulty, he didn't touch it because the enlightenment was coming. "Enforcer Dong, I still want to exchange for some middle-grade spirit stones. Can I exchange them here?" Night Sorrow asked after accepting the task. There's no problem in exchanging high-grade spirit stones for low-grade spirit stones. However, the ratio of low-grade spirit stones for high-grade spirit stones is different from the normal ratio. Enforcer Dong said. Okay, according to the normal ratio, we will use the ratio. Night Sorrow had a lot of low-grade spirit stones. During this period of time, he had done bronze tasks and received a lot of spirit stones as a reward. Low-grade spirit stones were used for alchemy or to arrange some simple arrays. They weren't too precious. However, high-grade spirit stones were different. Cultivators above rank 5 could absorb the energy of spirit stones to cultivate. However, high-grade spirit stones were too rare. No one could afford to use spirit stones for cultivation. Moreover, rank 5 cultivators were very rare. After Yi Shang had saved enough low-grade spirit stones for alchemy, he exchanged his low-grade spirit stones for mid-grade spirit stones. He now had more than 40 pieces. After doing this, Night Sorrow left Tianji Tower and returned to the City Lord's mansion to find Yang Lei. It was time to go out. Yang Lei needed to arrange things. When Night Sorrow arrived, Yang Lei had already finished her work. She then left the City Lord's mansion with Night Sorrow. The two of them got on the Tianyu and the Green Eagle and left. Enforcer Dong stood in the attic of Tianji Tower and saw everything clearly. He hoped that Night Sorrow would complete the task on his own. Since he had been promoted to Purple, the Tianji Tower had sent people to verify whether the task was done by Night Sorrow himself. This would affect the evaluation of the Tianjin Tower on Night Sorrow. During the flight, Night Sorrow told Yang Lei that they would go to Lushan to complete the task first. I'll follow your arrangements. I don't know what Lushan the Venerable left behind. However, seeing that he used an array to seal the entrance, it means that he left something important behind, Yang Lei said. I don't know what level this Venerable Lushan is at. However, no matter how heaven-defying his cultivation base is, he was still buried by history. Night Sorrow said with a sigh. You don't know about this. A 5th-grade cultivator is an expert. Only a 6th-grade cultivator can be called a venerable. In other words, Venerable Lushan is a 6th-grade cultivator. However, it's hard to say what level he is at. Besides, no one can say for sure whether he is dead or alive. You should know that a 6th-grade cultivator will have a long lifespan. Yang Lei then told him about the lifespan of a cultivator. Qi refining realm cultivators were the same as ordinary cultivators. There was not much difference between them. A Qi gathering realm cultivator would have a lifespan of around 130 years. A core formation realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 200 years. A spirit severing realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 300 years. A void inquiry stage cultivator would have a lifespan of 500 years. A 6th-grade vast heaven realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 800 years. It was conceivable that it was not easy for a cultivator to die of old age. Chapter 181. It's hard to say. Yang Lei shook her head. I've checked the information. Lushan the Venerable was a figure from 2,000 years ago. It's been 2,000 years. Unless he enters the 7th rank, he must be dead. Night Sorrow told her what he knew. Then he must be dead, because after so many years, no one has been able to reach the 7th step. Even those who have reached the 6th step are rare. Do you know how the 7 great forces are evaluated? It's because they have venerables, even if they are low-level venerables. As long as a force has a venerable, it's a super force. Of course, there are different levels of venerables. Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. Senior sister, according to what you said, the 7 super forces in the Eastern Profound Domain all have venerables, but there are no venerables in the Medicine Valley. Is that right? Night Sorrow asked. 9 Moxanu chapter and or Supra, 6k, it's like this. The Holy Cauldron scripture in the Medicine Valley has been lost, and the Heavenly Cauldron scripture is also incomplete. It means that after cultivating to the peak of the 4th rank, it's extremely difficult to enter the 5th rank, let alone the 6th rank. The Venerables in the sect are all extremely talented people. They entered the 5th rank by fumbling around. After entering the 5th rank, they cultivated according to the incomplete scripture. Of course, their cultivation speed is slow, and they have no hope of entering the 6th rank. Yang Lei said. Without a 6th rank venerable, the sect has to be careful. Knight Sorrow nodded. It's not like the sect doesn't have talented members. Do you know why Grand Elder Hua didn't manage the affairs of the valley a few years ago and was still the valley master? Yang Lei looked at Yi Shang and asked. Knight Sorrow obviously didn't know. After Yang Lei explained, Knight Sorrow finally understood. Originally, Hua Yunping was the peak lord of Wuwei Peak. The current peak lord was his junior brother, Han Dang. Yi Shuwei was his disciple, and so was Chu Lingshao. Hua Yunping was the most promising person in the Medicine Valley to reach the 6th level, so the Grand Elder helped him to the position of Valley Lord, even though he was not good at managing the affairs of the valley. However, decades had passed, and Hua Yunping was still stuck at the bottleneck of the peak of the 5th rank, unable to advance any further. Therefore, the sect's Grand Elders and the Valley Master had discussed and decided to appoint Yu Yangyu as the Valley Master. First of all, Yu Yangyu was the member of the Medicine Valley who had the highest chance of reaching the 6th rank other than Hua Yunping. Only by becoming the Valley Master could he use some of the forbidden resources of the Medicine Valley. Does that mean Grand Elder Hua has no hope of entering the 6th order? Knight Sorrow was a little disappointed. Wrong, but there is hope. I heard from the Grand Elder that Grand Elder Hua is already half a step into the 6th rank. The only thing he needs is his state of mind. It has nothing to do with resources, so he vacated the position. The main reason is that you took back the Sacred Cauldron scripture, which gave him the opportunity to break through. It's the same for the others. Otherwise, do you think Grand Elder Brother and I could enter the 5th rank so easily? Yang Lei said with a smile. I see. I understand. I hope Master and Grand Elder Hua can enter the 6th rank as soon as possible. Then, the Medicine Valley won't have to listen to the Golden Flame sect anymore, Knight Sorrow said as he waved his arm vigorously. This is an absolute secret. You can't leak any information. The 7 superpowers often carry out the dragon slaying plan. As long as there is a chance of entering the 6th rank, they will send experts to eliminate them to reduce the threat and consolidate their ruling position, Yang Lei said to Knight Sorrow. They're that despicable. Knight Sorrow's expression turned ugly. The world was simply too cruel. They aren't just hunting cultivators who have a chance of breaking through to the 6th rank. They are also hunting talented seedlings. So, I hope you can attract Tianji Tower's attention and get Black's attention as soon as possible. When that time comes, the 7 superpowers will have to think twice before making a move against you. They won't be able to bear the consequences of angering Tianji Tower, Yang Lei said to Knight Sorrow. Yi Shang nodded. He really did not expect that there would be so many complicated relationships in between. Soon, they arrived at Knight Sorrow's quest location. Yang Lei waited while Knight Sorrow went to complete his quest. In the Golden Flame mountain range, hundreds of thousands of miles away from the Medicine Valley, many people had gathered in the Golden Flame sect's main hall. Qi Tiancheng and Zhan Qinghe were among them. Vice Sect Master, now that the Footloose Sect and Southern Dippers Sect have calmed down, can we make a move against the Medicine Valley? Qi Tiancheng stepped forward and bowed. The old man in embroidered robes sitting in the main seat did not speak. Instead, he looked at the Golden Flame sect's upper echelons. He was the Golden Flame sect's Vice Sect Master, Zhan Tianyi. Zhan Peng was his direct descendant. The Medicine Valley is very arrogant, but we can't be sure if the Southern Dipper sect, Footloose sect, and the Medicine Valley have reached some kind of agreement. Otherwise, the Southern Dipper sect and Footloose sect would have pressured us when we tried to make a move against the Medicine Valley. Most of the Southern Dipper sect's main force is in the Blue Cloud Mountain Range. They are definitely not bluffing, an elder said. Well, Elder Song's words are reasonable. This matter needs to be investigated. Let's wait for the news from the Southern Dipper sect and Footloose sect spies, Enchanting said. The Medicine Valley is still a subordinate force of the Golden Flame sect. We don't need to worry too much. First, we need to deal with the situation of the Southern Dipper sect and Footloose sect. In addition, the news from the Medicine Valley says that the Medicine Valley is really going to fight to the death. Is the news true? A female elder stood up and asked. This news can't be wrong. This is what makes the Medicine Valley difficult to deal with. They are a group of lunatics. If we go a little overboard, they will immediately fight back. Enchanting slapped the armrest of the chair and growled. We still need to stabilize the situation before dealing with them. Even if we take them down forcefully, our strength will be greatly damaged. It's better to deal with them properly when the forces under the sect are fighting. Since they are a subordinate sect, then we can kick them out of the ranking and control them with resources, an old man with a hooked nose said coldly. He was the law enforcement elder of the Golden Flame sect, Su Chin-fong. Let's do that first. I will send people to the Footloose sect to see what they want. The Southern Dipper sect thinks that they are strong and act domineeringly. However, the Footloose sect is not much stronger than our Golden Flame sect. What qualifications do they have to declare war on us? Enchanting roared with some annoyance. This was human nature. The Southern Dipper sect was stronger than the Golden Flame sect, so they could accept a declaration of war. It was normal for them to fight. The Footloose sect was about the same as the Golden Flame sect. Therefore, the Footloose sect sent people to the border area and wanted to fight. This made Enchanting a little uncomfortable. Following Enchanting's words, the people in the hall all left, leaving only Enchanting and Su Chin-fong. Vice Sect Master, Chen Bai sent a letter a while ago. He seems to have been taken over by the Medicine Valley, Su Chin-fong said. It shouldn't be the intention of the Medicine Valley. If they were really sure, then Chin-fong wouldn't be safe and sound. Besides, even if they found out, they wouldn't dare to do anything to Chen Bai. Could it be that they really want to declare war on our Golden Flame sect? Enchanting said after thinking for a while. Chapter 182. Su Chen-bai was his younger cousin, a member of the Su family. Now that there was a risk, he wanted to summon Su Chen-bai back to prevent any accidents. However, Enchanting refused several times. Now that the sect master was in seclusion, Enchanting was in charge of the Golden Flame sect. Even though he was the law enforcement elder, he couldn't directly disobey. He even suspected that Enchanting was trying to attack the Su family's power. The Golden Flame sect's power was formed by families. It was a gathering of several big families, and there were marriages and other relationships. The two biggest families in the Golden Flame sect were the Su family and the Zhan family. The sect master was the Su family's head, Su Ruokong, and the vice sect master was the Zhan family's head, Enchanting. Now that Enchanting didn't allow Su Chen-bai to be summoned back, Su Chin-fong was a little annoyed, but he couldn't do anything. Enchanting glanced at Su Chin-fong and left the meeting hall. He knew what Su Chin-fong wanted, but for the sake of the Golden Flame sect, he wouldn't agree. Night Sorrow used half a month to finish all the missions on hand. In this half a month, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei ran tens of thousands of miles. Other than completing all the missions, Night Sorrow also raised his chi cultivation to the peak of the 6th level of Element Gathering Realm and the peak of the 4th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm of the Myriad Dao Treasured Book. The reason he could cultivate so quickly was because of the foundation he had tempered at Dan Ding Cliff. After completing all the missions, Night Sorrow didn't feel any pressure and planned to break through first. He wanted to break through the Myriad Dao treasured book, but he wasn't in a hurry to break through his chi. When his chi reached the 7th level of Element Gathering Realm, he could eat chi-boosting pills and reach the peak of the 7th level of Element Gathering Realm, so he didn't lack time. However, the Myriad Dao treasured book was different. Night Sorrow didn't have any pills to directly raise his cultivation. He had to do it step by step, so time was more important. Yong Vijio be free. Read novels MZ. There was still a day's distance from Lu Mountain. Night Sorrow told Yang Lei his idea. Okay, your cultivation is solid, so there's no point in suppressing it. You can break through tonight. Hearing that Night Sorrow was about to break through, Yang Lei was only happy. She came out to accompany Night Sorrow. She had nothing else to do and there was no delay. Using a single night's time, Night Sorrow strengthened the small veins in his hands and feet, entering the 5th level of the tendon strengthening realm. When the Myriad Daoist scripture reached the 6th level of the muscle strengthening realm, it strengthened the meridians in his shoulders and connected the dragon tendons in his back to the tendons in his arms. Entering the 7th rank of the muscle strengthening realm was to strengthen the waist tendons, connecting the dragon tendons to the tendons in the legs. The 8th rank of the muscle strengthening realm was to strengthen the tendons in the chest and abdomen. Level 9 strengthened the meridians in the neck, allowing the energy in the torso to circulate more smoothly. When all the meridians in his head were strengthened, he would enter the 3rd realm of the Myriad Tao treasured tome, the bone tempering realm. Now that he had reached the 5th level of the tendon strengthening realm, the strength of Night Sorrow's hands and legs had increased. After leveling up, Night Sorrow stretched his body. He leaped up and punched the ancient tree. Pang! Night Sorrow's punch shattered the tree. There wasn't the slightest injury on his hand. He then kicked out, and with an explosive sound, a 3 chi wide boulder was shattered by Night Sorrow's kick. You don't feel pain. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow with some astonishment. It doesn't hurt. After leveling up, the strength of my hands and legs increased by quite a bit. We can set off for Lu Mountain now, Night Sorrow said as he stretched lazily. Yang Lei shook her head. She had originally thought that Night Sorrow was about to break through to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Now she understood that wasn't the case. Night Sorrow had broken through to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Sitting on Tianyu's back, Night Sorrow stabilized his cultivation base at the 5th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm. Although Tianyu's speed wasn't as fast as the Azure Condor, he wasn't too far behind. Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about running out of energy. Yang Lei told Night Sorrow that Tianyu was already at the 3rd level of core condensation tier. His cultivation speed was extremely fast. The two of them arrived at Lu Mountain Range in the evening. According to Night Sorrow's map, they arrived at the Venerable Lu Mountain's Immortal Cave. However, because it was already late, Yang Lei suggested that they go tomorrow. It was hard to predict what would happen in a 6th-level Venerable's Immortal Cave. Yang Lei didn't want any accidents to happen. After starting a fire, Night Sorrow chatted with Yang Lei while roasting the deer that Tianyu had caught. 13, you're 16 now. There's definitely hope that you can enter the core condensation tier before you turn 17. This speed will definitely shock the world. In the history of Medicine Valley, the fastest cultivator entered the core condensation tier at the age of 17. You should know that they started much earlier than you. Let's not talk about bone age. In fact, you started cultivating at the age of 15. The children of high-ranking members of Medicine Valley started cultivating at the age of 10. Everyone knows the difference between the two, Yang Lei said with a smile. Night Sorrow was already 16. Because he cultivated the 10,000 Tao Tome, his body grew very fast. He was already taller than Yang Lei and was about the same height as an ordinary man. Although his body didn't look burly, it contained a terrifying power. When I go back and break through to the 7th level of Gathering Element, I can reach the peak of the 7th level of Gathering Element after taking the Spirit Strengthening Elixir. Then I can continue cultivating at Danding Cliff. In this way, I can reach the peak of Gathering Element by this year. But it's hard to say if I can enter the core condensation tier. Night Sorrow cut the food and gave a piece to Yang Lei. He kept some for himself and gave the rest to Tianyu. There's a gap between the peak of Gathering Element and the core condensation tier. Many individual cultivators are stuck here for their whole lives. There are also many elite disciples in Medicine Valley who are stuck here. You have to be careful. Don't enter the fake core condensation tier. That will delay things, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. I'll be careful. Yi Shang nodded. He was still a bit anxious in his heart. If he could enter the core condensation stage before the age of 17, then with the addition of being the owner of the Extreme Heaven Tower's silver level token, he should be able to become the Extreme Heaven Tower's black eye. What are you thinking about? Yang Lei saw that Night Sorrow was a little absent-minded, so she waved her hand in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. Night Sorrow reached out and slapped Yang Lei's hand away. I didn't sleep. 13, you really don't know how to be gentle with a woman. How can you hit my hand like this? By the way, do you know that Crepe Myrtle wants you to go there? Yang Lei rubbed her hand and asked. I heard from the Great Elder that they want me to go there. I've only met Lan Yu and Huang Qian a few times, so I'm not very familiar with them, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yang Lei smiled. I didn't expect the Great Elder to trick people. Yang Lei then told him the conditions that Yi Xiling wanted to recruit Night Sorrow. 10 wives. Ha, forget it. I'm not going to Crepe Myrtle. I thought it was a real invitation. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Don't you know that Crepe Myrtle is a beautiful woman? Yang Lei rolled her eyes at Night Sorrow and said. I've always been with 6th senior sister and 9th senior sister. In my eyes, there are no other beauties, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Chapter 183. At the mention of Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow was startled. 9th senior sister, why are you bringing this up? Sikong Chuyu is a good girl. Not only is she beautiful, she's also very easy to get along with. 9th senior sister and 6th senior sister both like her very much. You know, as a woman, it's easy to make a man like her, but it's hard to make a woman like her, Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Hearing Yang Lei approve of Sikong Chuyu, he was very happy. Then are you really not going to Crepe Myrtle? Yang Lei asked again. I'm really not going. When I go back this time, I'm going to break through to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier, then go to Danding Cliff to cultivate. I don't have time for useless things. Night Sorrow shook his head. Don't regret it. Crepe Myrtle is a place that many disciples of the Medicine Valley want to go for a walk. It's only because they're too fierce that male disciples are forbidden from entering, Yang Lei said with a smile. The two of them casually chatted for a while, then Night Sorrow took out the bearskin and spread it on the ground. He sat down in a corner and began to cultivate. Seeing Night Sorrow sit down, Yang Lei shook her head and also began to cultivate. She admired Night Sorrow's persistence. Many people found it difficult to cultivate because they rejected cultivating. After all, it was a dry and boring process. But Yang Lei found that Night Sorrow didn't reject it at all. Instead, he enjoyed it. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow woke up early to cultivate his spear arts. After entering the 5th level of muscle strengthening, Night Sorrow's spear arts were even more powerful than before. Every strike of his spear caused the sound of the air being torn apart. After cultivating his spear arts for a while, Night Sorrow went to roast the prey that Tianyu had caught. At this time, Yang Lei, who had gone to the stream to wash up, also returned. Your Tianyu is really smart. But it's a bit hard to serve cooked food. Yang Lei's azure condor caught its own prey and ate it directly, unlike Night Sorrow's Tianyu who ate cooked food. After cleaning up, the two of them set off towards the Venerable Lushan's cave to investigate. It would be great if I could get the Venerable Lushan's killing fist manual, Night Sorrow muttered as he walked. What Shatterkill fist manual? Yang Lei, who was following behind Yi Shang, asked. A while ago, I bought a book about people in Danding City. I know that 2,000 years ago, the Venerable Lushan's famous techniques were the Gale Blade and Killing Fist. I'm not interested in the Gale Blade, but I do need a fist technique. The mountain-crushing fist consumes too much energy, Night Sorrow said. True. Your body is tyrannical. You really do need a fist technique for close combat. Yang Lei also knew about Night Sorrow's situation. Having a fist technique would definitely increase his combat strength. 2 hours later, the two of them arrived at the location indicated on the treasure map. This was a cliff, and in front of the cliff was an open space that was filled with violent energy. It's here, Yi Shan said as he closed the treasure map. Yes, it really is here. After so many years, the formations have fallen into disarray. Yang Lei nodded. Night Sorrow took out a formation diagram. It was the yin-yang formation diagram. He had exchanged it from Enforcer Dong. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei squatted on the ground and began to study the yin-yang formation. J. Latest dollar chapters D sections RS $WL 13. To set up a complete yin-yang formation, we will need hundreds of spiritual stones. However, we don't need to set it up or repair it completely. We just need to replace the important bases with spiritual stones so that the formation can operate normally for a day or two. Yang Lei spoke her thoughts. That's what I was thinking. Let's just fill the 18 array bases with spirit stones according to the array diagram. Yi Shan took out a mid-grade spirit stone and said. Looks like you are well prepared. Let's begin. Yang Lei nodded. Holding the spiritual stone, Night Sorrow looked at the chaotic energy according to the diagram. Then, he threw a spiritual stone in the direction he estimated and smashed it into the ground. When the spiritual stone was thrown in, the chaotic energy stabilized a little and then began to surge again. 13. Hurry up. Otherwise, the spiritual stone you just threw in will be drained of its energy and shatter. Yang Lei reminded Night Sorrow. After hearing Yang Lei's words, Night Sorrow kept throwing out spiritual stones with his right hand. When all 18 spiritual stones were thrown out, the chaotic energy in front of the cliff stabilized. When the energy stabilized, a stone tablet appeared in front of the cliff. On it, there were 4 simple words, Foothill Mountain Cave Mansion. Not bad. You guessed it right. However, we have to hurry up. I'm afraid these mid-grade spiritual stones won't last long. Yang Lei said. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Night Sorrow took the diagram and approached the cliff according to the diagram. The yin-yang formation was not a very advanced formation, but it was very violent. Once it was triggered, it would be killed by the chaotic energy. Carefully passing through the formation area, the two of them arrived in front of the stone tablet with the words, Foothill Mountain Cave Mansion. You stay behind. Yang Lei stopped Night Sorrow who was about to enter the cave mansion. She led the way in front because she was afraid of danger. One had to know that people who had experienced a long period of cultivation had very strange personalities. It was normal for them to leave behind some killing moves. Night Sorrow carried the reincarnation spear and followed behind Yang Lei. The cave mansion was very dark. Fortunately, Yang Lei often went out to train in the past. Her storage ring was relatively well prepared. She took out 2 torches and lit them. She handed one to Night Sorrow. As they went deeper, the 2 of them entered a hole. It was a stone hole. Soon after, Night Sorrow shivered. He saw 2 small lanterns in the hole. They were green lanterns. There was only one possibility for such a green light. It was the eyes of a demonic beast. Yang Lei waved her arm and inserted the torch into one of the walls of the hall, illuminating the hall. Night Sorrow saw what it was when the hall lit up. It was a lizard that was 5 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet long. 13. Back off. This is a mid-stage 4th rank blue-eyed lizard. It is very poisonous. I will kill it first. Yang Lei took out her black sword. Senior sister, could it be the spirit beast guarding this place? Night Sorrow asked. If it was really a cave guarding spirit beast, then there was no need to kill it. Impossible. Foothill Mountain Venerable was a figure from 2,000 years ago. This fellow is only a mid-stage 4th rank. It only has a few hundred years of life. There is no relationship between the 2. It is a sparrow occupying a dove's nest. It came in through a hole. While speaking, the blue-eyed lizard attacked Yang Lei. However, it was knocked back by Yang Lei's sword and a bloody wound appeared on its head. The blue-eyed lizard's mid-stage 4th rank cultivation was very strong. However, its opponent was even stronger. It was Yang Lei who was at the 5th rank. They were not on the same level. After repelling the blue-eyed lizard with one sword, Yang Lei took the initiative to attack. If it was not a cave-guarding spirit beast, then there was no need to keep it alive. Chapter 184. Yang Lei swung her sword a few times, and the sword aura left several deep wounds on the blue-eyed lizard's head and neck. At that moment, Night Sorrow also saw the cave that Yang Lei had mentioned. On the east side of the rock hall, there was a big black hole with some messy sand and stones. It was obvious that the hole had been dug later on. After being injured, the blue-eyed lizard wanted to escape. How could Yang Lei let it escape? She flashed to the front of the cave and slapped the blue-eyed lizard's head with her left hand. With a muffled sound, the mid-stage class 4 blue-eyed lizard was killed by Yang Lei. Its head was smashed by the cloud-turning palm. It's quite savage. Yang Lei took 2 steps back to avoid the blood of the turquoise-eyed lizard from splashing onto her body. This is because senior sister followed me here. Otherwise, this thing would have taken my life, said Yishan. Advanced cultivators choose cave abodes with dense spirit energy. Lushan Venerable's cave abode is in the area with the most spirit energy. The blue-eyed lizard couldn't pass through the chaotic area in front of the cave abode, so it could only dig its way in, Yang Lei said as she glanced at the blue-eyed lizard's corpse. After taking out the Fey Illustrated Handbook and taking a look, Night Sorrow went forward to collect the blue-eyed lizard's gallbladder, heart blood, for poisonous fangs, and the poison sac under the fangs. These were the last valuable items on the blue-eyed lizard's body. Senior sister, you can keep these materials. After collecting the materials, Night Sorrow didn't put them away for himself. I don't need these. Just keep them. Let's continue looking inside. Yang Lei shook her head. Night Sorrow didn't say anything more and put the materials away. After putting away the materials, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei started to observe the hole. This hall was where Lushan Venerable used to live. There was a stone table, stone chairs, and some jade artifacts on the table. They were very valuable in the eyes of ordinary people, but Night Sorrow wasn't interested. Behind the stone table was an arched door, and behind it was where Lushan Venerable cultivated. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei entered the arched door with torches and discovered a different scene. The decorations were very luxurious. The floor was made of jade, the bed was made of jade, and there was a small tea table on the jade bed. There were some jade tea sets and a storage ring on the tea table. So many jades, does he want to eat them like food? Yi Shang, who was holding a torch, muttered. That's because you don't understand. Jade has the effect of calming the mind, so cultivators like to use jade as daily necessities. Take a look at this storage ring. Yang Lei reached out and threw the storage ring to Yi Shang. Senior sister, can't you just take a look? Night Sorrow said. This is your opportunity. It's faded. I can't steal the limelight. It will hurt your luck, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. Hearing Yang Lei's words, Night Sorrow picked up the storage ring and dripped blood on it to claim ownership. Everything went smoothly. Senior sister, Lushan Venerable is dead. I didn't have any trouble claiming ownership, Night Sorrow said. I just sensed it. The original owner of the storage ring must have removed the claim. There is no aura left on it. Normally, when the owner of the storage ring dies, there will be some aura left, Yang Lei explained. Night Sorrow started to check the storage ring. Then, Night Sorrow laughed and took out 3 books. One of them was the Killing Fist Manual. Senior sister, there really is the Killing Fist Manual, Night Sorrow said excitedly. At the same time, he passed the other 2 books to Yang Lei. SM Yong QH Jo Yu, Phi H Look caret 3 small / say, your luck is really heaven-defying. Gale Blade Technique, this is the Heaven Essence Chi Refining Scripture. They are all incredible books. What else do you have? Yang Lei took a look at the book and threw it back to Night Sorrow. Elixirs. There are some elixirs. There are also some refining materials and weapons. Night Sorrow took out everything in the storage ring. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei started to study. What made Night Sorrow and Yang Lei happy was that there were level 4 spirit calming pills and level 5 clear void pills. There were also healing pills and antidote pills. Among them, there was the Profound Tranquility pill, which could directly raise one's cultivation by 4 stages, and the Void pill, which could raise one's cultivation by 5 stages. There were a few of each. In addition, there were nearly 100 high-grade spirit stones and a few top-grade spirit stones. Ninth Senior Sister, these things are very valuable, Night Sorrow looked at Yang Lei and said. Don't say that you want to give them away. These are yours, Yang Lei said. She did not want Night Sorrow to say anything. But I can't use these. Night Sorrow said. They are still yours. Tidy them up and put them away. Yang Lei's words did not allow Night Sorrow to refute. Night Sorrow could only tidy up the elixirs and put them away. Then, the 2 of them left the small room. 13. Protect the resources well. You have to know that a man's wealth is his own ruin, Yang Lei said as she patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. But since Senior Sister has come with me, I can't let her come for nothing. Here are 5 void pills that can raise your cultivation base. Yi Shang took out the void pills. 13. Let me give you an example. Our relationship is the same. If you give it to 9th Senior Sister, will you feel embarrassed when you see other senior brothers and sisters? No one will say anything, but you will feel embarrassed. So, don't give it to anyone, understand? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said earnestly. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that Yang Lei's words made sense, but it was not very appropriate. 9th Senior Sister, even if I reach level 5, I can still eat 1 or 2 clear void pills. There are still a few here. 9th Senior Sister needs 1 to reach level 5. You don't have to say anything. Night Sorrow took out a clear void pill and handed it to Yang Lei. Yang Lei smiled and reached out to take it. She understood that this was Night Sorrow's intention. If she did not take it, Night Sorrow would not give up. In addition, Night Sorrow also talked about the disposal of the cultivation methods. He did not need the Gale Blade and Heaven Essence Chi refining scripture. When they returned, he would let Yu study them and exchange them for resources. Although Night's Sorrow did not cultivate these two ancient books, they were high-level ancient books. The value was very high. They could be exchanged for the ancient books that Night's Sorrow needed. After tidying up, the two of them left the immortal cave. In the middle, the two of them cleaned up twice for fear of missing anything. Standing at the entrance of the immortal cave, Yang Lei looked at the ground in front of the cliff and thought for a moment. 13. There are a lot of spirit stones underground. Based on the intensity of the energy storm just now, there might be high-grade spirit stones underground. We have to dig them out. These are all resources. You should know that when Ao Yushan gave you 30 high-grade spirit stones, that was the entire wealth of the Ao family. There are more than 30 spirit stones underground. Then what are we waiting for? Let's study it and break the array formation. We will be rich. Night's Sorrow was worried that Yang Lei would not want it, so he deliberately said that they would be rich. Chapter 185. After studying the diagram for a while, Night's Sorrow and Yang Lei still couldn't understand it. At first, they had only used spiritual stones to patch up the base of the formation. Now, it was very difficult to break the formation. Lu Shan Venerable had only left behind the diagram for the later generations to enter the formation. There was no way to break the formation. This gave Night's Sorrow and Yang Lei a headache. They didn't know much about formations. On Taishan Peak, only Yu and Aoi knew about formations. No one else could break it with violence. Yang Lei was a little angry, so she made a decision. Ninth senior sister, will it be dangerous? Night's Sorrow was worried. Yang Lei then told him her idea. Before the formation was activated, they had to destroy the base of the Yin and Yang formation by force. Yang Lei took out her long sword and asked Night's Sorrow to step back. Then, she quickly drew her sword with her right hand and slashed 4 times at a corner of the ground in front of the cliff. 4 streaks of sword chi cut through the ground as if they were plowing the ground. The ground was overturned. As soon as the 4 streaks of sword chi appeared, the energy in front of the cliff started to roll. However, it disappeared after a while because Yang Lei had destroyed a corner of the formation. Alright, come out and dig for spirit stones. Seeing that there were no more problems, Yang Lei beckoned Yi Shang over. Night's Sorrow came out with his barbecued meat knife and started digging with Yang Lei. Now that they knew where the base of the formation was, they dug much faster. In an hour, they had dug out more than 60 top-grade spiritual stones and 6 supreme-grade spiritual stones. Not bad at all. The quality of these spiritual stones is better than the ones we usually see, Yang Lei said as she looked at the spiritual stones. It seems that the energy explosion didn't damage the spiritual stones. Night's Sorrow nodded. That's right. Using spirit stones to set up a formation absorbs the energy of heaven and earth. It doesn't consume the spirit stones themselves. The energy here is chaotic because of the changes in nature, which cause the stones to shift, causing the positions of the spirit stones to be disrupted. However, it's not damaged yet. Keep it. Yang Lei looked at the potholes that were dug out by the two of them. She then turned around to look at the spirit stones and said, I don't want it anymore. I just got a lot of spirit stones, Night's Sorrow said. You rascal, let's do as you say. Let's work together to make a fortune. We'll split it in half. Don't say anything else. Yang Lei immediately made the decision. In fact, this was also Night's Sorrow's intention. He knew that if he directly asked Yang Lei to take half of it, she would definitely not agree. After packing up, the two of them got on their flying mounts. Tianyu and the Green Condor were familiar with each other, so they didn't attack each other and stayed close to each other. 13th, senior sister has profited greatly from following you this time, Yang Lei said as she looked at Night Sorrow. W/new fastest B/B/G, not as much as I have. Come, senior sister, take this. Night Sorrow threw a jar of wine to Yang Lei and then opened a jar for himself. Indeed, your luck is really heaven-defying. Now you have enough resources to use. Yang Lei said with a smile. Yes, it is indeed enough. Senior sister, do you cultivate the killing fist? Night Sorrow asked as he drank a mouthful of wine. You cultivate it. It is better for a woman to cultivate something gentler. Yang Lei opened the jar of wine and smelled it. Ninth senior sister, do you cultivate something gentler? Is the heaven-covering hand gentle? After listening to Yang Lei's words, Night Sorrow smiled. Don't talk about my shortcomings. You should know that I am not cultivating a sword art now. Yang Lei glared at Night Sorrow. Then take the Heaven Essence Chi Refining Scripture and the Gale Blade and exchange it for a better sword art. Night Sorrow spoke out his thoughts. 13. Do you know what the Heaven Essence Chi Refining Scripture means? It is an ancient book that can be cultivated up to the 6th rank. If we had not found the Sacred Cauldron Scripture, the Heaven Essence Chi Refining Scripture could be used as the treasure book of our sect. Yang Lei felt that Night Sorrow had not discovered the preciousness of the Heaven Essence Chi Refining Scripture, so she reminded Night Sorrow. Then we will leave it to Master to deal with. If any of us need a cultivation method, we can exchange it. Night Sorrow said. Yang Lei nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow really did not need these cultivation methods. Night Sorrow had the complete version of the Sacred Cauldron Scripture, so there was no problem for him to cultivate Jin Qi. As for battle skills, Night Sorrow had the Chasing Wind Spear art, Dragon Soaring 9 Heavens movement art, Following Cloud movement art, Heaven Covering Hand, and the Killing Fist art that he had just obtained. These were enough. After 2 days, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei returned to Danding City. When they arrived, it was already dark. Night Sorrow did not hand in the task and directly went to live in Yang Lei's mansion. When Yang Lei went to teach the disciples, Night Sorrow decided to go into seclusion. After all, he had nothing to do tonight. After teaching the disciples for a while, Yang Lei found out that Night Sorrow had gone to cultivate when she asked Night Sorrow to have a meal together. After spending a whole night, Night Sorrow raised his cultivation level to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. After stabilizing his cultivation level for an entire morning, Night Sorrow walked out of his room. Master, why can't I see 13th uncle's cultivation level? Jiang Ziming, who was standing beside Yang Lei, asked. Your 13th uncle is now in the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. You've just reached the 3rd level. What the hell can you see? Yang Lei glared at Jiang Ziming. 7th level of Element Gathering tier. 13th uncle has reached the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Jiang Ziming's mouth was wide open. He could not believe that Night Sorrow's speed could be so fast. 9th senior sister, I plan to hand in the task, Night Sorrow said. Then go. I'll wait for you for lunch, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. She did not plan to go with Night Sorrow. After all, the City Lord's mansion was very close to Tianji Tower. Moreover, she knew that there were some things between Night Sorrow and Tianji Tower that were not convenient for outsiders to know about. Night Sorrow nodded and arrived at Tianji Tower. Seeing Night Sorrow, the woman who knew Night Sorrow went to look for Enforcer Dong. Soon, Enforcer Dong appeared in the hall. You've completed all the tasks. Yes. Enforcer Dong, help me collect them and see if I've reached the silver level, Night Sorrow said. Enforcer Dong then collected Night Sorrow's tasks. After calculating for a while, Enforcer Dong nodded. That's enough. You're the fastest cultivator in the Eastern Xian domain to advance from the Iron Token to the Silver Token. Enforcer Dong recorded Night Sorrow's information, then changed the token to the Silver level. Night Sorrow, can I ask you something? Enforcer Dong asked. Enforcer Dong, you don't have to be so formal. Just say what you want to say. Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. Enforcer Dong had never spoken like this before. He was always straightforward. Why did he seem a little hesitant today? Did you complete all the tasks by yourself? Enforcer Dong asked. Yes. Sometimes, my senior brother and senior sister followed me because they were worried that the people of Golden Flame sect would attack me. I completed all the tasks by myself. It's genuine and can be investigated, Night Sorrow said with a frown after hearing Enforcer Dong's words. Don't worry. Even if others helped you complete the tasks, it's still effective. However, you're a purple follower, so Tianji Tower will definitely investigate. If it's not your own efforts, it will lower their evaluation of you, Enforcer Dong said. Don't worry. I did it by myself, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 186. 7th level of Element Gathering Tier, a Silver Token Holder. That's really amazing. I thought you'd reach Core Formation Tier first, then Silver Tier, Enforcer Dong said with a smile. Look at section *G of the original chapter. I won't delay either. I'll do missions and cultivate at the same time. It doesn't matter which one reaches first, Night Sorrow said. After chatting with Enforcer Dong for a while, Night Sorrow returned to Yang Lei's mansion. He roasted and fed Tianyu the corpses of the demonic beasts bought by the servants. In Yang Lei's mansion, there were many third-generation disciples, but none of them dared to approach Night Sorrow. In their eyes, this martial uncle who had entered the sect only a year earlier than them was a monster. It was better not to get close to him. 13. How's the situation? Yang Lei, who had finished dealing with matters in the city lord's mansion, returned. Night Sorrow took out the silver token and waved it in front of Yang Lei. It's done. I don't have to do missions for a while. Not bad. You need to stabilize your cultivation, then take the yuan increasing pill and cultivate, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. I plan to go to Dragon Spring Courtyard to cultivate. I'll return to the sect to see Master in a few days, Night Sorrow said. 6th senior sister has just accepted a disciple, so she's a bit busy. She doesn't have time to accompany you at Dragon Spring Courtyard. Take care of yourself, Yang Lei said after thinking for a while. She knew that in terms of cultivation environment, her place was far inferior to Dragon Spring Courtyard. Nodding, Night Sorrow jumped onto Tianyu's back and flew towards Dragon Spring Courtyard. After returning to Dragon Spring Courtyard and arranging things for Tianyu, Night Sorrow entered the main hall and saw an unexpected person. It was the Grand Elder of Medicine Valley, Hua Yunping. Little guy, you're really troublesome, Hua Yunping, who was drinking tea, said. Grand Elder, why are you here? Night Sorrow hurriedly bowed in greeting. I've been quiet for a while, so I came out for a walk. The environment here is pretty good. I want to stay here for a while. Is that okay? Hua Yunping put down the teacup in his hand and asked. Of course. Supreme Elder can stay as long as he wants, Night Sorrow said. Not bad, you've entered the 7th level of Element Gathering Tier. Your foundation is very stable, and the qi and blood in your body are even more vigorous than before. You've indeed improved a lot, Hua Yunping evaluated as he sized up Night Sorrow. After chatting with Hua Yunping for a while and telling Hai Luo to take good care of Hua Yunping, Night Sorrow returned to his room. Night Sorrow didn't find Hua Yunping's visit strange. There was a natural formation in Dragon Spring Courtyard that could calm one's mind. It was normal for Hua Yunping to come here to find an opportunity to break through. Actually, Hua Yunping had been here for a few days. When Night Sorrow left Medicine Valley, Hua Yunping arrived at Danding City. After asking around, he found out that Hua Yunping had gone out with Yang Lei, so he didn't pay any attention to him. He didn't believe that Golden Flame sect could send a 5th-level martial artist to kill Night Sorrow. When Yang Lei was at the 4th level, she could defeat almost all her opponents at the same level. Now that she had entered the 5th level, even a few 4th-level martial artists would be useless. Then, he went to Night Sorrow's Dragon Spring courtyard. Today, he was very satisfied to see Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was truly unfazed. After entering his room, Night Sorrow ate a yuan-increasing pill and began to cultivate. He planned to raise his cultivation to the peak of 7th level of yuan-gathering realm as soon as possible. Then, he would go to Danding Cliff to refine his cultivation. After that, he would be able to advance to 8th level of yuan-gathering realm. After hearing Enforcer Dong's words, Night Sorrow knew that he still had a long way to go before he could be blacklisted by Tianji Tower. If he entered the core condensation realm, then he would definitely be blacklisted by Tianji Tower. Through his understanding, Night Sorrow knew that blacklisted people would definitely be recruited by Tianji Tower. They could be considered as Tianji Tower's people. However, before the 4th level, there was no position assigned to them. Below the 4th level, their abilities were limited, and Tianji Tower didn't need them. Night Sorrow cultivated silently. Every day, Hua Yunping either fished or teased Silver Fox. After Aoi left, Hai Luo and Luo Wei took care of Silver Fox. With Night Sorrow's instructions, Silver Fox Cub didn't dislike Hai Luo and Luo Wei. What surprised Hai Luo and Luo Wei was that Silver Fox Cub was very willing to be with Hua Yunping. What they didn't know was that Hua Yunping cultivated the Tao of Inaction. He had already reached the Tao of Unity, so Silver Fox Cub felt close to him. It took Night Sorrow 3 days to completely refine the yuan-increasing pill and raise his true qi cultivation to the peak of 7th level of yuan-gathering realm. After coming out of the room, Night Sorrow went to Celestial Water Lake to take a bath. Then, he returned to the martial arts field and began to study the Killing Fist. The Killing Fist focused on momentum, killing the opponent in one go. The technique was Wave Force, which was true qi bombarding the opponent in waves. There was still a difference between it and Shock Force. Shock Force was true qi bursting out at the same time, while Wave Force was attacking the opponent in waves. After studying the Slaughtering Fist manual for a while and memorizing the cultivation method and techniques, Night Sorrow put away the manual and began to cultivate his fist technique. Night Sorrow closed his eyes and kept punching forward, trying to find the feeling of Wave Force. Watching Night Sorrow cultivate, Hua Yunping frowned. He didn't understand why Night Sorrow, who cultivated the spear art, would cultivate the fist art. Standing there without moving, Night Sorrow kept punching. Sometimes it was fast, and sometimes it took him a long time to punch once. He was trying to figure out the Wave Force in the fist art. Night Sorrow hadn't moved since he stood there in the morning. Only in the evening did Night Sorrow stop and go to the dining room to eat. "Aren't you tired after cultivating for a whole day?" Hua Yunping, who followed Night Sorrow into the dining room, asked. "Not tired, it's okay," Night Sorrow said while eating. Not bad at all." Hua Yunping didn't expect Night Sorrow's answer to be like this. "Little Six, take care of Tianyu and Silver Fox." After instructing Little Six, Night Sorrow went back to his room to cultivate. Whether Hua Yunping was there or not, it didn't affect him much. Hua Yunping shook his head. He understood why Yu Yangyu, who hadn't accepted a disciple for many years, accepted Night Sorrow as his last disciple. If it were him, he would have accepted him too. In accepting a disciple, talent was important, but temperament was the most important. This was something all high-level cultivators knew. After cultivating true Qi in the myriad Tao tome for an entire night, Night Sorrow woke up early and began to cultivate the killing fist art. Feeling the cool breeze blowing from the Skywater Lake, Night Sorrow was touched. If he wanted to cultivate wave force, he would feel it in the water. With this idea in mind, Night Sorrow went to the Skywater Lake. He took off his outer robe and stood in the water. First, he felt the impact of the waves, then he slowly punched out. This made Hua Yunping, who was holding the fishing rod, feel helpless. How could he fish like this? He might as well just watch Night Sorrow cultivate. After cultivating for 2 hours, Night Sorrow finally felt the characteristics of wave force. He then jumped onto the shore and began to execute the killing fist art. Whether it was cultivating secret arts or cultivating combat skills, the most difficult thing was to get started. Once you got started, the rest would be easy. Chapter 187. Night Sorrow could be considered to have mastered the shattering killing fish technique. Every battle skill had a corresponding cultivation method, but even if you had the cultivation method, you might not be able to successfully master it. This required talent and comprehension. For example, the heaven-covering hand manual was in the Medicine Valley Scripture Pavilion, but only the Taishian Peak disciples, Yu Yang and Yang Lei, and the new disciple, Night Sorrow, were able to cultivate it. The shattering killing fist technique was the same. Even if some people had the shattering killing fist technique manual, they still wouldn't be able to successfully master it. The shattering killing fist technique without the wave force was no different from an ordinary fist technique. After mastering the wave force and knowing how to circulate it, Night Sorrow's cultivation became much easier. Night Sorrow's fists continuously punched out. The true Qi in his body was like a wave, pouring into his hands. This fight lasted for 15 minutes. The reason he stopped was because the true Qi in Night Sorrow's dantian had been used up. With a low roar, Night Sorrow's body once again moved. His fists alternated as he punched out. This time, he used the 5th level of the muscle strengthening stage's energy from the myriad Tao treasured tome. The time he could last was a bit shorter than when he used true Qi. After completely exhausting his true Qi and the energy in his body, Night Sorrow returned to his room to continue cultivating. What Night Sorrow didn't know was that Hua Yunping was stunned. He had never seen such a fist technique before. Hua Yunping could feel the wave force on Night Sorrow's fists. He knew that this was because he hadn't met any obstacles. Once he met any obstacles, the wave force would explode. What shocked him the most was that after exhausting his true Qi, by relying on the energy in his body, Night Sorrow was still able to continue punching for nearly 15 minutes. This was simply unimaginable. This wasn't a problem of the strength of his body, but rather the fact that Night Sorrow's body contained a very powerful energy. Night Sorrow did not expect Hua Yunping's reaction at all. After returning to his room, he ate a leopard embryo tendon strengthening pill and began his cultivation. Currently, his true Qi had reached the peak of the 7th level of element gathering tier. What he needed now was to stabilize his true Qi. However, there was still a lot of room for improvement in the 10,000 Tao treasured tome. In the next few days, Night Sorrow continued to consolidate his cultivation base at the peak of the 7th level of element gathering tier while practicing the 10,000 Tao tome and the killing fist art. The current shattering kill fist in Night Sorrow's hands was truly lethal. Even if Night Sorrow's body and fist did not move, the following wave force would be able to shatter the mountain rock. If the first wave force did not shatter, the following wave force would continue to attack until the target collapsed. This was completely different from oscillating force. Oscillating force could only be used once. If it could be shattered, then it would be shattered. If it couldn't be shattered, then it couldn't be shattered. After mastering the shattering kill fist art, Night Sorrow did not want to stay in the Dragon Spring courtyard any longer. He planned to go to Danding Cliff to consolidate his cultivation base and then break through. After packing up, Knight Sorrow greeted Hua Yunping, Grand Elder. I plan to go to the sect's Danding Cliff to cultivate. If you need anything, just let them know. Alright, then you can go back first. Remember, don't run around. Wherever you go, you must inform your elders. Hua Yunping nodded and reminded Knight Sorrow. He did not plan to go back to the sect with Knight Sorrow. He needed to calm down and organize his thoughts. Riding on the Tianyu, Knight Sorrow first arrived at Yang Lei's residence in Danding City. You're planning to go back to the sect? Seeing Knight Sorrow, Yang Lei asked. Yes, senior sister. What about you? I plan to hand in the ancient book. If you need anything, I'll tell master. Knight Sorrow planned to give the Qian Yuan Qi refining scripture and the Gale Blade Dao art to Yu Yang Yu and then exchange them for some resources for his senior brother and senior sister. If possible, help me exchange the Wind and Thunder sword art. I don't know if it's possible, but I'll go back with you, Yang Lei said after thinking for a while. She also wanted to go back and take a look. The Wind and Thunder sword art was the ultimate skill of the Medicine Valley. It could not be obtained without outstanding contributions. Even the heaven-ranked disciples were not qualified to cultivate it. In the Medicine Valley, only the Valley Master and the Grand Elder could cultivate it. Yang Lei wanted to cultivate this sword art. However, if the price was too high, she planned to give up. After all, she was paying Knight Sorrow's resources. She had to control the price herself. If she did not go back, regardless of the price, Knight Sorrow would exchange it for her. Yang Lei was sure of this. After informing by Qingshan and Ao Yushan, Yang Lei and Knight Sorrow rushed to the Medicine Valley. Seeing Yang Lei and Knight Sorrow riding the Green Eagle and Tianyu leaving, Ao Yushan sighed. He was now a deputy city lord. He even felt that he was wronged when he was the city lord. There was no way he could compare with Yang Lei when he was the city lord. When he was the city lord, he did things cautiously. There were many things that he did not dare to do. For example, when he patrolled the city, he had to sit in a beast carriage and patrol for a few days. Most KK knew UJ chapter Shang 1, however, after Yang Lei became the city lord, she immediately announced that her mount and the mount she chose could fly. Ao Yushan did not have the courage to do so. He was mainly afraid that the sect would punish him. However, Yang Lei was not afraid and did not punish him. After half a day, Knight Sorrow and Yang Lei arrived at the Danding Peak Hall in the Medicine Valley. Knight Sorrow saw Yu Yang Yu, the first elder, the second elder, Qian Wu, and Su Qinbai in the hall. Master, I... Knight Sorrow bowed and was about to speak. Ahem. Master, 13 and I are here to greet you. Yang Lei coughed and interrupted Knight Sorrow when Knight Sorrow was about to speak. 13, your cultivation has increased well. It is very solid, the first elder said as he tapped the ground with his cane. Qinbai, go to the Merit Hall to supervise the doubling of the resources for all disciples in the Medicine Valley this year. We will discuss the matter of Danding City here, Qian Wu said. Qian Wu spoke. He already knew about Su Qinbai's background, so he knew that he needed to send Su Qinbai away. I will do it right away. Su Qinbai was very annoyed, but he still bowed and went to do it. 13, do you have something to tell me? Yu Yang Yu knew that Knight Sorrow had something to say when Yang Lei coughed. Yes, disciple obtained an ancient book. Normally, disciples shouldn't negotiate with the sect, but I want to exchange it for some battle skills for senior brother and senior sister, said Yishang. Let me see what technique it is. Yu Yang Yu wasn't unhappy that Knight Sorrow wanted to negotiate. He was happy that Knight Sorrow was thinking for his senior brother and sister, but he was the Valley Master and had to maintain his dignity. Knight Sorrow handed the Qian Yuan Qi refining scripture to Yu Yang Yu. Yu Yangyu looked at it carefully and flipped through a few pages. When he saw that it was a 6th-level cultivation technique, Yu Yangyu's expression changed. He then handed the scripture to the first elder. This is an ancient book. Look at the color of the animal skin. It is quite old. If it is not fake, it can be used as a sect-guarding scripture. Where did you get it? The first elder was a little excited after looking at it carefully. This is the scripture of Lushan supremacy. I got it by chance. As for whether it is real or fake, I don't think anyone can reach the 6th level, Night Sorrow answered directly. Chapter 188. That is indeed the case. The value of this book is immeasurable. 13. Do you have any requests? The Great Elder asked after handing the book to Qian Wu. I would like to exchange it for the combat skills that senior brother and senior sister need, mainly the Wind and Thunder Sword technique. Night Sorrow bowed to the Great Elder. Don't you need anything for yourself? Qian Wu, who had yet to read the book, asked. I don't need anything for myself. If Master and the elders feel that this book isn't enough, I have another one here. Night Sorrow took out the Gale Blade Combat Skill book and handed it to Yu Yangyu. Yu Yangyu took the Gale Blade Combat Skill book and flipped through it. He nodded and said, this is a rank 4 combat skill. It's quite valuable. However, the Wind and Thunder Sword technique is Medicine Valley's signature combat skill. Master needs to discuss this with the elders. Do you have anything else to say? Disciple still has a few words to say, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. The Great Elder propped himself up with his walking stick and sat up straight. He then looked at Night Sorrow and asked, what do you have to say? The Sacred Cauldron scripture belongs to Medicine Valley. After I found it, I handed it over and returned it to the sect. However, the Heaven Essence Chi refining scripture and Gale Blade technique are not. The reason why I brought them back to the sect and didn't go to Tianji Tower or other places to exchange for combat skills is because I feel that as a disciple of Medicine Valley, I should contribute to the Medicine Valley and work hard to improve the strength of the Medicine Valley. This is what a disciple should do. For the sake of the sect's disciples and for the sake of the sect's strength, it is the responsibility of Master and the elders, Night Sorrow said after organizing his thoughts. You mean that you have done what a disciple should do, and the rest is up to the sect to think for the disciple, right? The Great Elder asked. Yes, my senior brother and senior sister have been worried about me for more than a year. I want to do something for them. Night Sorrow nodded. Yu Yangyu waved his hand at Night Sorrow and Yang Lei. You two go back first. Master will discuss this with the elders. If the sect does not agree to this request, Master will bring the ancient book back to you. Night Sorrow bowed and left the hall. Yang Lei bowed to Yu Yangyu, cupped her hands to the first elder and second elder, and then left the hall. She bowed to Yu Yangyu as a master and disciple, but she didn't need to bow to the first elder and second elder because she was also an elder. 13. You dare to say anything. Aren't you afraid that the first elder and second elder will get angry? The disciples of the Medicine Valley should put the sect first. Yang Lei slapped Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow smiled and shook his head. I'm telling the truth. I should return the Holy Cauldron scripture, but these two ancient books are different. My request will not harm the interests of the Medicine Valley. The two chatted as they returned to Taishan Peak and arrived at Aoi's Bamboo Grove house. You two are back. Have you seen Master? Aoi greeted the two when she saw them. At the same time, she asked the maid to prepare food. Yes, 6th senior sister. How many disciples have you had? You must be very busy. Night Sorrow looked at the group of third-generation disciples who were practicing combat skills. It's okay. It's quite lively. 13. Your cultivation speed is a bit ridiculous. Aoi smiled. Then, the three of them sat down to chat and drink tea. Not long after, Yu Yangyu came. Night Sorrow and the others quickly greeted him. Sit down. Aoi, send someone to inform your senior brother and junior brother to come. Yu Yangyu sat down and said. Master, what's the result of the elders' discussion? Night Sorrow asked. If they didn't agree to your request, then wouldn't they have given you the ancient books? After a discussion and asking the Grand Elder, the sect agreed that the second-generation disciples of Taishan Peak, who are your senior brother and senior sister, can go to the library and choose any combat skill. However, only your eldest senior brother and ninth senior sister are qualified to choose the Wind and Thunder Sword art. Your eldest senior brother is the Peak Master and ninth senior sister is an Elder. The sect can make an exception and agree to it. Others can't. Yu Yangyu said. Master, what happened? Aoi sent someone to inform Gong Xian and the others. When she returned, she was still confused. Then, Yang Lei explained the situation to Aoi. 13. It's not good for you to do this. The sect's elders will have opinions about you. Aoi said. She knew that no disciple dared to negotiate with the sect. It's nothing. The first elder and second elder understand that 13 is doing this for the good of Taishan Peak. They just think that 13 is a little independent and has a sense of belonging to Taishan Peak. They don't have any other opinions. Yu Yangyu shook his head. During the elders' discussion, some of the elders had mentioned Night Sorrow's loyalty to Medicine Valley. However, the first elder and second elder refuted it directly. Without loyalty, such an ancient book would not be taken back to Medicine Valley. They also ordered that such arguments were not allowed. Soon, Gong Xian and the others arrived. Only Mo Chen wasn't there. Mo Chen had already gone into seclusion. Everyone who arrived knew what was going on. It was hard for them to thank Night Sorrow. 13. Aren't you going to choose a battle skill? Gong Xian asked. I'm not going to choose. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. I already have what I need. Night Sorrow shook his head. That's not right. Chapter 189. At 4,800 meters, Yishan stopped tossing and turning. He sat down cross-legged and began to meditate. Lu Qinyun let out a sigh of relief when he saw Night Sorrow sitting cross-legged. He was really nervous. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow stood up and used Shinyu Hand to consume his qi and myriad Dao Tome's energy. He then continued to cultivate and refine his cultivation. After dawn, Night Sorrow began to cultivate his battle skills under the pressure. He cultivated Destruction Fist arts and Dragon Leap steps. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, a man was looking at Night Sorrow on the 4,400-meter platform. He was Shi Yunxiao. He had been the Yuan Gathering champion for a long time, so he had some merit points. After entering the core condensation stage, he came here to refine his cultivation. Last night, he was meditating, so he didn't know Night Sorrow was here. After dawn, he found Night Sorrow's shadow. This made Shi Yunxiao feel shocked and helpless. After he entered the core condensation stage, he only climbed 4,400 meters. He knew that there was a lot of pressure in between, but now, Night Sorrow was cultivating this movement skill and battle skill at a distance of 4,800 meters. The difference was too great. When Night Sorrow was tired, he would rest and drink a bowl of wine. The rest of the time, if he wasn't meditating, he would be cultivating his battle skills. The degree of craziness also made Shi Yunxiao understand why Night Sorrow's cultivation increased so quickly. After dawn, disciples of the Medicine Valley came to climb Danding Peak to cultivate. However, they were all quite a distance away from Night Sorrow. Even a core condensation stage cultivator would find it hard to climb 4,800 meters. Lan Yu also came. She was 200 meters lower than Shi Yunxiao. Originally, both of them were 4,200 meters high. Shi Yunxiao's battle skills were better than hers, so he dominated the Yuan leaderboard. Her luck wasn't too good. Just when she had the chance to dominate the Yuan leaderboard, Shi Yunxiao, who was extremely talented in battle, appeared. Now that Shi Yunxiao's cultivation had advanced to the core formation realm, it was reasonable to say that the first place of the Yuan leaderboard should be hers. However, Night Sorrow appeared. She could only continue to stay in the second place. Seeing Lan Yu's arrival, Shi Yunxiao's body flashed and landed 4,200 meters away. "You're here. If I don't come, I'll be left behind by you," Lan Yu said. "That guy is there too. He's practicing his fish technique up there. I really admire him. When I entered the core condensation stage, climbing up to 4,400 meters is my limit. Now he is running up to 4,800 meters. This is too much." Shi Yunxiao said with a wry smile. "What kind of talent does Night Sorrow have? His strength is incomparable. His arms and legs have at least 10,000 gene of strength." Lan Yu said. "How would I know? When I was meditating last night, he wasn't there yet. This morning, I found him cultivating up there." Shi Yunxiao said. "The feeling of powerlessness is too strong. I'm not afraid of opponents with strong talent. As long as they work hard, they can catch up and surpass them. It's this kind of talented and crazy person that makes people feel helpless." Lan Yu looked up at Danding Cliff and shook her head. Night Sorrow forgot himself and practiced his cultivator's killing fish technique. He fought against the pressure from Danding Cliff. When his Shen Qi was exhausted, he continued to meditate. Using the pressure from Danding Cliff to refine his cultivation at the peak of the 7th level of element gathering stage, Night Sorrow planned to break through when the sky turned dark. During the day, Night Sorrow really didn't dare to, because he was afraid that other people would disturb him when climbing Danding Cliff. But in the middle of the night, there wouldn't be any newcomers. Besides, climbing in the middle of the night was very dangerous. If one's hand or foot slipped, they would fall down. No one would climb in the middle of the night. After being refined by the pressure from Danding Cliff, Night Sorrow's Shen Qi, which was already at the peak of the 7th level of element gathering stage, became even purer. Using the energy from the 10,000 Dao Tome in his body to withstand the pressure from Danding Cliff, he used all his Shen Qi to break through. Night Sorrow had no problems in breaking through. He even expanded his Dantian to its limit. In the second half of the night, he successfully broke through to the 8th level of element gathering stage. After breaking through to the 8th level of element gathering stage, Night Sorrow continued to use the energy of the 5th level of muscle strengthening stage to withstand the pressure from Danding Cliff and stabilize his cultivation. Night Sorrow sat for an entire day. Only when the sky turned dark did he get up to practice his fist and movement techniques. Then he continued to meditate. The energy from Danding Cliff was too pure. In just one day, Night Sorrow had stabilized his cultivation at the 8th level of element gathering stage. The night passed. When the sun rose, Shi Yunxiao and Lan Yu both went down. They didn't have enough merit points and couldn't continue to cultivate here. Night Sorrow was in good condition. He stood up and wanted to practice his fish techniques. After a moment's hesitation, he decided to climb up and use up all his Shen Qi and energy from his body. Then he would go to a higher place to cultivate. After making his decision, Night Sorrow began to climb. Once he started climbing, the platforms below and above Danding Cliff became very lively. Night Sorrow was currently at a height of 4,800 meters. This was a height that was difficult for element gathering stage cultivators to reach. It was a record. But now, Night Sorrow continued to break through. This time, Night Sorrow was much stronger than the last time. Last time, his Xinqi was at the 6th level of element gathering stage, and his 10,000 Dao tome was at the 4th level of muscle strengthening stage. Now, his 10,000 Dao tome was at the 5th level of muscle strengthening stage, and his Xinqi was at the 8th level of element gathering stage. Night Sorrow's cultivation increased, but the difficulty of climbing also increased. Every time he climbed a certain height, the pressure was different. Now, Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure, so his climbing speed was also slower. When he was 15 meters away from 4,900 meters, Night Sorrow's Xinqi was used up. He used his remaining muscle strengthening stage energy to withstand the pressure, and relied on his body's energy to continue climbing. After climbing a step, he needed to catch his breath, and then he continued climbing. The pressure was too great. I'm at the core condensation stage. 4,500 meters is still a huge chasm. This guy is already at 4,900 meters, and he even has the strength to reach 5,000 meters. Shi Yunxiao bitterly smiled. This guy has a secret. Look, he doesn't have any Xinqi left, but there's still energy circulating in his body. Lan Yu reminded Shi Yunxiao. Women were very careful, and Shi Yunxiao didn't notice this point. How can this be? No wonder this guy is so ferocious. 2 types of energy, this isn't just a matter of 1 + 1 = 2. Shi Yunxiao said with some surprise. That's right. Lan Yu said as if she had discovered a new continent. Just when the two were surprised, Night Sorrow climbed to the 4,900-meter platform. He lay on top of it to recover his strength. He didn't even have the strength to sit up. It must be known that this height was not something an ordinary core condensation stage cultivator could reach. After an hour, Night Sorrow recovered to his peak state. Looking up at the top of Danding Cliff, Night Sorrow hesitated. He didn't know if he should continue climbing or not. 7G0 only and 1K original version yo. For G0 only and 6K original version yo. The pressure at the end of every 1,000 meters was the greatest. Night Sorrow was worried that he would fail. When he climbed to 4,900 meters, he estimated that if he didn't break through, he wouldn't even be able to reach 4,850 meters. Chapter 190. Oh my God! Martial Uncle Night is going to climb again. Seeing Night Sorrow move, the disciples of the Medicine Valley became excited. Shi Yunxiao and Lan Yu, who hadn't left yet, looked at each other with shock in their eyes. 5,000 meters was a height that only the late core condensation realm could reach. This animal, if we don't attack him, he'll feel uncomfortable. Lan Yu scolded. Be careful with your words. If the elders find out about your martial uncle, you'll be scolded. Shi Yunxiao said. If they know, then they know. I'm just scolding him. Lan Yu insisted on her point of view, not caring about the expressions of the other onlookers. Lu Qinyun also heard it, but he didn't say anything because he felt that Lan Yu was right. Night Sorrow was an animal. When Night Sorrow began to climb, a man came to Danding Cliff. He looked to be in his late 20s. Seeing this person, many disciples stopped talking. Everyone knew this person. He was Lin Tinjue, who was originally first on the alchemy list. However, some time ago, he fell to second place. He was defeated by Taixian Peak's disciple, Mo Chen, and lost the first place. This was what everyone knew. What they didn't know was that the Merit Hall just announced that Taixian Peak's disciple, Mo Chen, was removed from the alchemy list because he entered the 4th rank. Nodding to Lu Qinyun, Lin Tinjue took out his identity plate and began to climb the cliff. His speed was extremely fast. The first 4,000 meters were almost like flying. It didn't affect him at all. What was really affected was that his speed dropped from the 4,000 meters. Although he was strong, he couldn't ignore the pressure. After Night Sorrow rushed to the 4,950 meters, he couldn't hold on any longer. The pressure from Danding Cliff made him put in a lot of effort for every step he took. There were only 20 meters left before the 5,000-meter platform. Night Sorrow couldn't hold on any longer. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. This 5,000-meter platform wasn't something he could challenge. Although he knew that he couldn't reach the 5,000-meter platform, Night Sorrow didn't give up. He continued to climb up. He wanted to keep up with his previous challenge. Soon, Lin Tingjue reached the 5,000-meter high platform. On the 5,000-meter high platform, Lin Tingjue wiped the sweat off his forehead and calmed his breathing. Then, he came to the edge of the platform and slowly drank from a small pot of wine. At the same time, he sized up Night Sorrow, who was trying his best to climb. There was contempt and disdain in his eyes. First equals $, what's wrong with him? He's already at the peak of the core condensation realm, yet he still has the face to look at others like that. Noticing Lin Tianjue's gaze, Lan Yu was a little angry. One had to know that Night Sorrow's ranking on the Yuan leaderboard was above hers. Now that someone was looking down on Night Sorrow, of course she was unhappy. Human nature is unpredictable. Shi Yunxiao coldly snorted. If one stood at the bottom of Pill Tripod Cliff, it would be very difficult to see the situation on the cliff. Shi Yunxiao, Lan Yu, Lu Qinyun, and some other disciples had all climbed to the opposite side of Pill Tripod Cliff. Looking at Night Sorrow, who was looking up and continuing to climb Pill Tripod Cliff, he saw Lin Tianjue's expression and was instantly enraged. No man would be able to stand being looked at with disdain while standing on top of another person's head. With a low growl, Night Sorrow continued to climb up. He couldn't stand others standing on top of him and looking at him with disdain. With a low growl, the veins on Night Sorrow's arms bulged as he struggled to climb up the platform. He's looking for trouble. Martial Uncle Yi will remember him for doing this. Qin Zhan is an example. He's strong now, but in the future. Humph. Lan Yu coldly snorted twice. While they were talking, Night Sorrow climbed up the 5,000-meter high platform. There was no pressure on the 5,000-meter high platform, but Night Sorrow didn't have any strength. He took out the reincarnation spear to support his body. Say your name. No one can stand on top of my head and show off. Night Sorrow coldly snorted and said. Lin Tianjue, Qin Zhan's senior brother. I just want to tell you that you shouldn't be too arrogant. Lin Tianjue coldly said. I'm arrogant. You can say that I'm arrogant, but let me tell you, I'll remember today's contempt. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he directly sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. At this time, it was useless to say more. He wasn't Lin Tianjue's opponent. The gap between the two was too big. Instead of arguing, it was better to cultivate. Actually, Martial Uncle Yi and Su Mu are the same type. The difference is that Su Mu will bite whoever he sees. Martial Uncle Yi will definitely bite whoever provokes him. Lan Yu said. You mean that guy might end up like Qin Zhan? That's right. With the character of a Taishan peak disciple, he can't be taken advantage of. Shi Yunxiao nodded. Seeing that Night Sorrow was meditating and ignoring him, Lin Tianjue also felt bored. He couldn't continue to provoke him and continued to climb. When he reached 5,200 meters, he began to cultivate. There was a time limit for him to come here. It couldn't be compared to Night Sorrow's unrestricted cultivation. Lin Yeshang recovered a little bit of strength and jumped onto the first small platform below the 5,000-meter platform to start cultivating. Disperse, disperse. Why are you so excited to see him climb? If you have the ability, go up yourself next time. Lu Qinyun began to drive people away. Chapter 191. Junior apprentice brother Mo, we're all youngsters. It's unavoidable for young people to be hot-headed. Why lower yourself to his level? Luo Daoyuan said with a smile. If that's really the case, then I, Mo Qin, definitely wouldn't mind. But senior martial brother Luo, do you think it's appropriate for someone at the peak of core formation to talk about qi with someone at the 8th level of element gathering tier? To put it bluntly, this is a matter of personality and character. Senior brother Luo, since you have come and spoken, then don't make things difficult for him. Apologize to 13, and this matter will be over. Mo Qin said. He didn't want to hurt Luo Daoyuan's face too much. After all, they were from the same sect. Alright, when he comes down, I'll deal with this matter. Luo Daoyuan nodded. He could ignore Mo Qin, but there were still people behind Mo Qin. If he got into a fight with Mo Qin because of Lin Tianjue, the people of Taishan Peak would be able to fight their way to Tianyue Peak. He had no doubt about that. Just as Luo Daoyuan finished speaking, Gong Xian, Yang Lei, Aoi and Huanan arrived on their green eagles. Peak Master Gong is here. It's a small matter. Luo Daoyuan greeted him. Although the two of them were of the same generation, their status in the Medicine Valley was too different, so it was impossible for them to talk to each other as equals. Being disrespectful to martial uncle is no small matter, Gong Xian said in a low voice. Upon hearing Gong Xian's words, Luo Daoyuan froze for a moment. It would be fine if they were of the same generation, but Lin Tianjue was one generation younger than Night Sorrow. With Gong Xian's power as the peak master of Taishan Peak and the guardian of Medicine Valley, he could be directly punished for offending his superiors. Yan initial hair when they arrived, Night Sorrow had already noticed them. Lin Tianjue had also seen the flying demonic beasts. It was impossible for him not to notice them. Lin Tianjue knew something was wrong when he saw a group of green condors coming over. That was the symbol of the second-generation disciples of Taishan Peak. He hurried down Danding Cliff. When he reached the bottom of Pill Tripod Cliff, he would go to Luo Daoyuan's side. Lin Tianjue, don't you have anything to say? Mo Qin asked. I wonder what senior uncle Mo means. Lin Tianjue asked. Then I'll let you know what that means. Seeing Lin Tianjue playing dumb, Yang Lei's body flashed and her right hand slapped Lin Tianjue's face. Lin Tianjue's expression changed, and he raised his right hand to block it. When Lin Tianjue tried to block her attack, Yang Lei's right hand instantly sped up and slapped Lin Tianjue's face, causing him to tumble backward. If you stand up for the disciples of Tianyue Peak, then I will stand up for my junior brother, Yang Lei said coldly. Let him go. I'll settle this myself, Night Sorrow shouted to Yang Lei when they returned to the 5,000-meter platform at Danding Cliff. One must have integrity. This time, my 13th junior brother will not pursue this matter. Otherwise, he will kill you. Aoi's face was covered with a layer of frost. Night Sorrow was their favorite. How could she not be angry when he was bullied by someone who relied on their cultivation? Get out of here. Luo Daoyuan's expression was ugly. He was here, but he still lost face. Some people couldn't be provoked. His disciples just couldn't understand. In the eyes of the Medicine Valley's higher-ups, Night Sorrow was definitely an important person to cultivate. Lin Tianjue's status as the number 1 on the elixir list was nothing in front of Night Sorrow. Why is there so much trouble? Our 13th junior brother isn't a troublemaker, but there are always people who are blind and shameless, always said. It's nothing. Overcoming obstacles is what one needs to go through to become an expert. Let's go back. Gong Xian said. Senior brother, I'm not going back. I want to consolidate my cultivation here, Mo Chin said. No, your wedding has been delayed for more than a month because of your breakthrough. You have to do it in the next few days. Gong Xian glared at Mo Chin. Okay, I'll listen to you, senior brother. Mo Chin originally wanted to accompany Knight's Sorrow, but when he saw Chu Lingfei's hopeful eyes, he nodded. The storm had passed, but everyone in the Medicine Valley knew about this matter. No one said that Taixian Peak was wrong. Lin Tianjue used his cultivation at the peak of the core condensation realm to look down on Knight's Sorrow. That was really too much. Knight's Sorrow didn't know that Mo Chin was preparing for the wedding. Originally, everyone wanted to call Knight's Sorrow back, but Mo Chin and Chu Lingfei didn't let them. It was just a matter of formality. They didn't want to interrupt Knight's Sorrow's cultivation. Every day, Knight's Sorrow cultivated his true qi and the energy from the myriad Tao Tome. He also cultivated his spear and fish techniques. His cultivation rose sharply. This made the disciples of the Medicine Valley who came to Danding Cliff to cultivate very envious. Other people came to Danding Cliff to cultivate for a day or two. Then, they had to do sect missions to earn merit points before coming again. It was considered good if they could cultivate once or twice a month. However, Knight's Sorrow, who had broken the record, didn't have to worry about this problem. Knight's Sorrow had an extreme desire to cultivate because he wanted to become a Black Eye of Tianji Tower. That way, he could write letters to Sikong. This time, Knight's Sorrow cultivated at Danding Cliff for half a month before coming down. He was chased down by Lu Qinyun. Cultivation couldn't be done overnight. Lu Qinyun was worried that Knight's Sorrow would get tired of cultivating and reject cultivation in the future. Since the elders stopped him, Knight's Sorrow could only stop cultivating. After coming down from Danding Cliff, Tianyu wasn't by his side. Knight's Sorrow could only walk. After walking for half a day, Knight's Sorrow returned to the Bamboo Grove house on Taixian Peak. Sixth senior sister, why is this place decorated with red silk? Knight's Sorrow asked when he saw the red silk hanging on the bamboo inside the Bamboo Grove. Your 11th senior brother is getting married. He doesn't have enough space, so he's hosting the guests at 6th senior sister's place, always said. Why didn't you inform me about 11th senior brother's wedding? Knight's Sorrow was a little anxious and regretful. He didn't attend such an event and didn't send his blessings. It's nothing. Your 9th senior sister made the decision for you and gave Ling Fei a face-retaining pill. A lot of people were jealous. All the female disciples in the Medicine Valley asked if you have any more face-retaining pills. Also, Crepe Myrtle's eldest disciple, Tang Qianqian, expressed her dissatisfaction with you, always said with a smile. I didn't do anything to her. Why is she dissatisfied? Knight's Sorrow was a little puzzled. Crepe Myrtle invited you, but you didn't go. You didn't give them face, Aoi explained. It's nothing good or important. I don't have to go, Knight's Sorrow shook his head and said. That's not appropriate. It's a gift that demands reciprocity. Since they invited you, it's rude if you don't go. I heard it's Peak Master Ye's idea, Aoi felt that Knight's Sorrow should go. Otherwise, it wouldn't be polite. Do I have to go? Knight's Sorrow was a little hesitant. You have to go. However, you have to control yourself. Although they are like wolves and tigers, they won't eat you, Aoi said. Chapter 192. We all got it. Your eldest senior brother and 9th senior sister got the Sword of Wind and Thunder. The rest of us also got what we needed. We all got the combat skills that we wanted, Qing Ji said. That's good. Knight's Sorrow nodded. He really wanted to help Aoi, but he remembered what Yang Lei said. If he helped Aoi, it would be hard for him to face the other senior brothers. He could only treat them all equally. The best way to help them was to get the battle technique. What do you plan to do next? Cultivate with your junior nephews? Aoi asked with a smile. No, the fourth elder said that I can't stay at Danding Cliff to cultivate. He asked me to rest before going. I plan to go back to the Dragon Spring Courtyard and cultivate there for a while before going to Danding Cliff, Night Sorrow told her his plan. Chapter 0, Section 1, Okay, but you have to go to Crepe Myrtle first. Also, when you were cultivating at Danding Cliff, a few people came looking for you. But they were all looking for you to drink. Nothing serious, Aoi said. Looking for me? Who came looking for me? Night Sorrow asked. One was the disciple of the North Peak, Qin Zhen. The other was the disciple of Danding Peak, Shi Yunhai, Aoi said. They're all friends. Is Qin Zhen a disciple of the North Peak now? Night Sorrow asked. I chatted with him for a while. He came to Medicine Valley last year to cultivate with the master of the North Peak. He was planning to participate in this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, but he broke through to the Yuan Gathering realm before the ceremony. He's very shy and took a long time to answer my questions, Aoi told him about her meeting with Qin Zhen. That's good. I'm relieved. He's not good at communicating, but he's a good person. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He knew Qin Zhen well. He knew that Qin Zhen was not good at communicating with others. It's rare to find someone you approve of. He's not bad, but he's also Qin Zhan and Qin Hai's younger brother. You crippled Qin Hai and hurt Qin Zhan. Won't he mind? Aoi still didn't understand Qin Zhen's mentality. Night Sorrow told Aoi about the conflict he had with Qin Zhen and Qin Hai on the way from Red Flame City to Danding City. He also told her that Qin Zhen was willing to stand on his side. Yeah, he wouldn't have come to see you if there was a barrier in his heart. The fact that he came to see you means that he sees you as a friend. Aoi nodded. As for Shi Yunhai, Night Sorrow knew that he was a careless person. He was probably here to drink with him. Sixth senior sister, I'm going to see Qin Zhen. With his personality, I don't think he has many friends. Night Sorrow said. Yes, you going to see him might be very important to him. Also, you should hurry up and go to Crepe Myrtle. If you don't go, you'll lose your momentum. Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just a formality. Aoi said with a smile. She could imagine Night Sorrow going to Crepe Myrtle. It must be a wonderful scene. Night Sorrow nodded helplessly. Since Aoi asked him to go, then he had to go. Otherwise, it would be a problem in the future. Crepe Myrtle invited him. If he didn't go, then he wouldn't be giving them face. In the future, he would offend the people of Crepe Myrtle. Night Sorrow didn't want that to happen. While Night Sorrow and Aoi were chatting, Tianyu came back with a deer in his claws. That was his prey. When he saw Night Sorrow, Tianyu threw the deer to the ground and ran to Night Sorrow's side. He rubbed his head against Night Sorrow's body. When Night Sorrow was cultivating at Danding Cliff, Tianyu went over to catch prey. However, he didn't get close. He just looked from afar. Now that he saw Night Sorrow coming back, he became excited. 13. This Tianyu is a big boss. He lives in the bamboo grove and has a few servant disciples serving him. He can't even be touched by others. Aoi said with a smile. She liked Tianyu very much. She also knew that this was the nature of strange beasts. It was very difficult for them to accept humans. Now, other than Night Sorrow, he wouldn't accept anyone else. Sixth senior sister, I'm going to the North Pole Peak. I'll be back later. Night Sorrow said as he jumped on Tianyu's back. Okay, I'll go to Crepe Myrtle on the way. Hee hee. Aoi said with a smile. Sixth senior sister, why don't you come with me? Night Sorrow was a little scared to go to Crepe Myrtle. This invitation was no different from a challenge to him. Okay. After meeting your little friends, come back to pick me up. Aoi thought for a moment and nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow had experienced a lot of things, but he had no experience in dealing with people, especially women. If Yi Xiling or Tang Qianqian threw out 10 wives, it would be hard for Night Sorrow to accept. When they arrived at the North Pole Peak, Night Sorrow explained the reason for his visit. Then, a disciple brought Night Sorrow to a comfortable valley behind the North Pole Peak. That was where Yen Beiji cultivated. In the valley, Night Sorrow saw Qin Zhen, who was working hard on his swordsmanship. Seeing Night Sorrow, Qin Zhen was stunned for a moment. He waved his hand and greeted him. Then, he wiped his sweat and ran to the pavilion at the back. After a while, he came out and said, I just greeted Grandmaster. You're cultivating with the Peak Master. Night Sorrow took out wine and poured 2 bowls. Then, he took out some jerky and said, Yes. My father is Grandmaster's disciple. Naturally, I'm the 3rd generation disciple of the North Pole Peak. I don't need to be apprenticed. I'm just following Grandmaster, Qin Zhen said after taking a sip of wine. That's good. If you're tired from cultivating in the future, you can come find me for a drink. If I'm not in the bamboo grove, I might be in the Dragon Spring courtyard outside of Danding City. You can find me there and cultivate there. Night Sorrow filled Qin Zhen's bowl again and said, Okay. If I have time, I'll come find you. Also, I want to apologize to you for what happened to my cousins. Speaking of this, Qin Zhen's face turned red. He felt that the Qin family was a little too much. He knew the cause of the incident very well. Speaking of which, I'm the one who should apologize. I was too harsh on them. I'll just avoid them in the future. After hesitating for a while, Night Sorrow gave in. He didn't want to make Qin Zhen feel uncomfortable. Since they were friends, he had to be considerate of his friend. You're thinking too much. By the way, I'll be going back to Red Flame City soon. Is there anything you need me to help you with? Qin Zhen asked. No, thank you for me. If it wasn't for your help, it would have been very difficult for me to come to Medicine Valley, Night Sorrow said. I will. Qin Zhen nodded. After drinking a jar of wine with Qin Zhen, Night Sorrow left. He was going to pick up Aoi and take her to Crepe Myrtle. After Night Sorrow left, Yen Beibei appeared. Zhen this is a good friend. For the past year, other than the people from Taishan Peak, he hasn't acknowledged anyone else. Cherish your friendship, Yen Beibei said. Chapter 193. Qin Zhen nodded. He didn't like to talk, even when he was with Yen Beifang. Also, your cultivation is improving faster, but it's not solid enough. Follow your senior brothers and sisters to the Empyrean Terminus Tower to do some missions, but don't come into contact with the more dangerous ones. Yen Beibei instructed again. Qin Aoshuan was Yen Beifang's disciple, and he was quite satisfied with him. He returned to his hometown and became the vice mayor of the city. Yen Beifang had already announced that he would be appointed as the mayor of the city. Qin Zhen was Qin Aoshuan's only son, but he didn't have an extravagant aura. Instead, he cultivated very hard. After he advanced before the disciple recruitment ceremony, he increased his cultivation by 1 level in a short period of time. My disciple started cultivating with Night Sorrow. He's very hardworking and outstanding. I'm not much worse than him, Qin Zhen said after thinking for a while. Friends don't discriminate between nobility and lowly, but you have to know that if you're on the same level, you'll feel more comfortable drinking and chatting together. Don't feel inferior and don't feel inferior, Yan Beifong reminded Qin Zhen with his life experience. Night Sorrow returned to the bamboo grove and flew towards Crepe Myrtle with Aoi. How's your little friend? Aoi asked. Very good. He's working very hard. He's already reached the second level of element gathering tier, Night Sorrow said. He's very talented and has a good personality, Aoi had a high opinion of Qin Zhen. Soon, Tianyu arrived at the square in front of Crepe Myrtle. After getting off the Tianyu, Night Sorrow asked Tianyu to lie down on the ground. Then, he walked towards the Crepe Myrtle Palace with Aoi. Martial Ant Aoi is here. What's wrong? Martial Ant Knight, do you need Martial Ant Aoi's protection to come to Crepe Myrtle? Crepe Myrtle's disciple, Huang Qian, greeted Aoi when she saw the two of them. She then glanced sideways at Night Sorrow and said, I don't know who's who, so I'll ask 6th senior sister to come over. If there's anyone I need to introduce, please introduce them to me. Night Sorrow was stumped by Huang Qian's words. We will all introduce ourselves. Lan Yu walked over from the direction of the main hall square, followed by some female disciples. Night Sorrow didn't know what to say. At the same time, he also knew that Crepe Myrtle's disciple wasn't someone to be trifled with. Regardless of his strength, his words were very sharp. What are you guys doing? Martial Ant is here. Why aren't you inviting her into the main hall? Suddenly, a woman in her 30s walked out from the main hall. Greetings, Senior Sister Liu. Aoi cupped her hands towards the woman. This woman was Yi Xiling's third disciple, Lu Jingyun. She joined the sect around the same time as Aoi, so it wasn't easy to differentiate between senior and junior sisters. However, she was ranked high in Crepe Myrtle, so Aoi called her senior sister. Junior sister Aoi is too polite. Senior sister invited junior brother Knight over. This is a bit difficult. Lu Jingyun smiled at Night Sorrow and led the way. At the same time, she asked Huang Qian to inform Tang Qianqian. Since Yi Xiling was often in seclusion, Crepe Myrtle's matters were taken care of by Tang Qianqian. This was a common phenomenon in all the peaks. The older generation had to work hard to break through, while the younger generation had to train their management skills. Greetings, senior sister. I've been busy with missions and cultivation, so I didn't come over. Please forgive me. After entering the main hall, Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Lu Jingyun. Is that so? It's good that it's not because of other reasons. It's our master's idea to invite you as a guest. Lu Jingyun pointed at the seats and invited Aoi and Night Sorrow to sit down. Thank you for your kind invitation, Peak Leader Yi. Night Sorrow politely returned the gesture. How long has it been? You really don't have any respect for Master and Crepe Myrtle. A woman walked in from outside. The woman was tall and slender. Her fine black hair was tied behind her head. Her eyes were very beautiful, but there was a hint of coldness in them. She was wearing a sapphire blue dress that matched her very well. The only thing that didn't match was the layer of frost on her face. Jingyi, don't say that. Maybe junior brother Knight is really busy, Lu Jingyun said. This was Crepe Myrtle and Yi Xiling's disciple, Lin Jingyi. She was quite strong and was quite famous in Medicine Valley. What's wrong? Do I have to come just because you invited me? Hearing Lin Jingyi's words, Night Sorrow was dissatisfied. She shouldn't treat a guest like this. Are you not giving face to Crepe Myrtle? Lin Jingyi coldly looked at Night Sorrow. Respect is mutual. If you don't give me face, why should I give face to others? Night Sorrow coldly said. Alright, Jingyi, what are you doing? How can you treat your junior brother like this? Tang Qianqian walked into the hall. 13. This is senior sister Tang. Aoi stood up and cupped her hands at Tang Qianqian. Junior sister Aoi, you're too polite. Back then, Master went to talk to Martial Uncle Lu and wanted to invite you over. Unfortunately, Martial Uncle Lu refused. Otherwise, we would be dear martial sisters, Tang Qianqian sat down and said with a smile. It's still the same now. We're both Medicine Valley's disciples, so we're dear martial sisters, Aoi said with a smile. Junior brother knight, I wanted to set a precedent and bring you to Crepe Myrtle during the disciple recruitment ceremony last year, but I didn't succeed, Tang Qianqian said with a smile on her face. Thank you, senior sister Tang, Knight Sorrow nodded and said. Now, my master still hopes that you can come to Crepe Myrtle, Tang Qianqian said. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, above 0, thank you, Peak Master. I'm here now, although I'm a little late, Knight Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands. He thought that Tang Qianqian wanted to invite him to Crepe Myrtle as a guest. Junior brother knight, you must have misunderstood. My master hopes that you can join Crepe Myrtle, Tang Qianqian said straightforwardly. I'm sorry, I'm a disciple of Taishan Peak, so I can't join Crepe Myrtle, Knight Sorrow was stunned for a moment, then he refused. You really don't know what's good for you. Lin Jingyi said coldly as she glared at Knight Sorrow. Well, don't you think senior sister Lin is pretty? Many Medicine Valley's disciples have their eyes on her. Master said that if you come, she'll make the decision to marry her to you. Tang Qianqian threw a bomb. It was also a big meat bun that a man would find hard to refuse, because Lin Jingyi was indeed very beautiful, and her temperament was also the kind of cold and aloof. Besides, Grandmaster also said that you can choose a few more girls besides junior sister Lin, Lan Yu, who was standing beside Tang Qianqian, said with a smile while covering her mouth. Senior sister, are you gloating over my misfortune? Sometimes, it's easy to be sad after joy, Wang Qian said. Yes, Master arranged it this way. They can all be with you, Tang Qianqian pointed at the other girls in the hall, including Lan Yu. This made Lan Yu a little dumbfounded. Retribution came too quickly, but fortunately, Knight Sorrow's answer made her feel a little more at ease. Sorry, unless you kick me out of Medicine Valley, I won't leave Taishan Peak, Knight Sorrow's attitude was very firm. Chapter 194. Knight Sorrow also stood up and touched the reincarnation spear with his right hand. Junior sister Lin, this isn't appropriate, right? Aoi, who had been silent all this while, stood up and said. Aoi didn't say anything even when Tang Qianqian tried to poach Lin Jingyi. However, Aoi couldn't tolerate Lin Jingyi making a move. Jingyi, sit down. Tang Qianqian shouted at Lin Jingyi. She sounded unhappy because it was indeed inappropriate for her to do this. Not liking you is my problem. However, I will remember that you don't like me. Lin Jingyi stood up and left the hall. Lin Jingyi was in a bad mood recently. She was the outstanding second-generation disciple of Crepe Myrtle. However, Yi Xiling arranged for her to be with Knight Sorrow. If Knight Sorrow agreed to come to Crepe Myrtle, then she would be in charge of receiving and comforting him. In other words, she would become a bargaining chip to win over Knight Sorrow. Lin Jingyi objected immediately. However, Yi Xiling didn't accept her objection and told her that this wasn't to make things difficult for her. Therefore, she was extremely unhappy when she saw Knight Sorrow today. 13. Someone is holding a grudge against you. Aoi shook her head and sat down. She understood that the truth was just as Lin Jingyi said. Women could not like you, but if you didn't like them, then it was a sin. Sorry, sixth senior sister. Let's go. Knight Sorrow said. He didn't want to stay here and look at other people's faces. My junior sister's personality is like this. She is a bit cold. Don't mind her. Tang Qianqian smiled apologetically. It's fine. They are all young people. It is normal for them to have a bit of temper. Senior Sister Tang, if you have time, come visit me in the bamboo grove. Aoi stood up and said. Night Sorrow and Aoi rode Tianyu back to the bamboo grove on Taishan Peak. What's wrong? Is junior brother still angry? Aoi asked. I'm not angry. I just think they're a little unreasonable, Night Sorrow said. Not many women are reasonable, Aoi said with a smile. Not really. 6th senior sister and 9th senior sister are very reasonable, Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's because I'm trying to reason with you. I don't need to do that with others. Mo Chen and Chu Lingfei appeared, dressed in festive outfits. Congratulations, 11th senior brother. Congratulations, big sister Lingfei. Night Sorrow bowed. Thank you. Your face-preserving pill is a treasure. Thank you, junior brother. Chu Lingfei reached out to help Night Sorrow up. I'll be more careful in the future, Yi Shang said, a little embarrassed. My cultivation has delayed my business. Mo Chen smiled and shook his head. Did you go to Crepe Myrtle and get bullied? Night Sorrow didn't say anything, so Aoi repeated it with a smile. That Lin Jingyi is a famous cold beauty. You directly rejected her, which is equivalent to slapping her face. That's why she's unhappy. Of course, she's also unhappy that you agreed, Chu Lingfei said with a smile. Night Sorrow understood this and didn't say anything. He would just stay away from Crepe Myrtle in the future. After eating with Aoi, Mo Chen, and Chu Lingfei, he was about to leave. There's something I need to remind you. After a while, the disciples will be able to return home. Are you going back to Bamboo Garden Town? Aoi asked. I'm going back. I'm going to see Old Man Gu and Uncle Nyo. You guys can call me when the time comes. After making his decision, Night Sorrow rode on Tianyu and left Taishan Peak. He was going back to the Dragon Spring Courtyard to cultivate. 13 is really hard-working. I have to work hard too. Lingfei's cultivation is higher than mine, Mo Chen said while rubbing his nose. All these years, he had been chasing Luo Sihai and had delayed a lot of his cultivation time. However, his combat ability was strong and his foundation was solid. When he returned to the Dragon Spring Courtyard, it was already midnight. After feeding Tianyu, Night Sorrow went to cultivate. When Night Sorrow returned, Hua Yunping knew. When he saw Night Sorrow's cultivation, he was shocked. Night Sorrow's cultivation speed was too fast and solid. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the dining room for breakfast. When he arrived, Hua Yunping was already eating. Grand Elder is here. Night Sorrow sat across from Hua Yunping. Hua Yunping smiled and nodded. I realize that living here is a pleasure. The environment is pleasant and I can eat delicious dishes every day. Then Grand Elder can stay here. Yi Shan took the food that Hai Luo brought over and began to eat with his head lowered. Night Sorrow didn't flatter Hua Yunping just because he was the Grand Elder. He lived his life as usual. After eating, he went to cultivate his spear art and fist art. He had the opportunity to learn the Wind Thunder sword art. When he submitted the book, the sect would allow it as long as he mentioned it. However, he didn't like sword arts. He felt that sword arts weren't as domineering as spear arts and weren't suitable for him. While cultivating his spear art and fist art, Night Sorrow didn't forget to cultivate his movement technique. He wanted to combine cloud movement technique and dragon leap steps. Watching Yi Shang cultivate was a form of enjoyment for Hua Yunping. The beauty of strength was evident on Yi Shang's body. Every time after cultivating, Night Sorrow would drink tea with Hua Yunping. When it comes to cultivating movement techniques, you might have walked into a dead end. It is very difficult to perfectly combine two types of movement techniques. Try to focus on one type of movement technique, then slowly add in the other type of movement technique. You can integrate it bit by bit, Hua Yunping said. Only 4 is Z proper version Z, M equals T, E is all F, C is P hashtag thief version N. Okay, thank you Grand Elder for your guidance. Knight Sorrow nodded. In the afternoon, Knight Sorrow rode Tianyu into Danding City. He wanted to see Yang Lei and Enforcer Dong. Before going to Tianji Tower, Knight Sorrow bought some cooked food and wine before going to see Enforcer Dong. Seeing Knight Sorrow, Enforcer Dong smiled. You came. If you didn't come, I would have gone to the City Lord's mansion. Your letter. Enforcer Dong took out a letter and handed it to Knight Sorrow. Without caring about Enforcer Dong's presence, Knight Sorrow opened the letter. After reading the letter, Knight Sorrow's face turned gloomy. The contents of the letter made him angry. The Sikong clan and Ji clan were pressuring Yunwu Mountain at the same time. Of course, Yunwu Mountain wouldn't compromise. It was fine with the Sikong clan, but the pressure from the Ji clan made Yunwu Mountain furious. They directly started to wipe out some of the Ji clan's businesses and forces. The conflict escalated. In order to not make things difficult for her grandfather, Sikong Chuyu chose to leave again. This time, she didn't have a goal and just went wherever she wanted. Knight Sorrow's face turned livid. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. He was too angry. This is how the world works. What you need is strength. The Ji clan is strong, so they are lawless. That's why the Sikong clan needs such a marriage alliance. However, the son-in-law is very strong this time. He directly asked the Ji clan to retreat. He won't allow anyone to touch Yunwu Mountain, Enforcer Dong said. Chapter 195. Then isn't the current situation of Mount Yunwu very good? Yishan asked after putting away the letter. Not really. Yunwu Mountain's weakness is that it's a new force without many years of inheritance. However, the Mountain Master is very strong. It won't be easy for the Ji family to do anything. Besides, although my son-in-law isn't the head of the Sikong family, he has his own force. He won't let the Ji family touch Yunwu Mountain, Enforcer Dong said. Sikong sent me a letter saying that the Sikong family is also putting pressure on Yunwu Mountain, Knight Sorrow said. That's just a part of the Sikong family. The Ji family is the same. It's not the whole family's decision, Enforcer Dong said. I'm worried about Sikong's safety now. It's not safe for her to walk around alone, Knight Sorrow said worriedly. Don't worry. Miss is the inspector of Tianji Tower. She can go anywhere she wants and won't be in any danger. Those who don't know their place are no match for her. Everyone knows that the people of Tianji Tower are not to be trifled with, Enforcer Dong said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that Enforcer Dong was telling the truth, but he was still worried. After drinking a jar of wine with Enforcer Dong, Knight Sorrow left Tianji Tower and went to Yang Lei's mansion. 13. You're here. Yang Lei was very happy to see Knight Sorrow. Ninth senior sister, Knight Sorrow greeted her. What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Yang Lei, who was familiar with Knight Sorrow, asked. Knight Sorrow told her about the letter from Sikong Chuyu. That Ji family is shameless. So is the Sikong family, Yang Lei said angrily. I can't help her when she's in trouble. Knight Sorrow was a little depressed. 13. Do you like Sikong? Yang Lei looked at Knight Sorrow and asked seriously. I don't know. I'm just worried about her. I don't want her to get into trouble, Night Sorrow said after some hesitation. I can't contact her now. Why don't we let her come to Taishan Peak? She'll be absolutely safe there, Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow nodded and said nothing. Here, this is the top quality silk you brought back. Senior sister found a craftsman to make a few robes. Yang Lei took out a few folded robes. Then, Yang Lei asked Night Sorrow to try it. Night Sorrow knew that Yang Lei wanted to make him happy, so he didn't refuse. Night Sorrow looked very spirited when wearing the top-grade silk robe that was tailored and sewn by a high-level craftsman. It was a pure white silk robe with hidden flower patterns. The collar, hem and cuffs of the robe were all embroidered with red, making it look very impressive. 13, you look so handsome in it. I made a few of them. You can wear this in the future, Yang Lei said happily. If someone else wore this robe, they might look arrogant and extravagant. Young master, you have a different temperament when wearing it, Chushu said. Then I'll wear it. Yi Shang also liked it. This kind of open front robe was quite comfortable to wear. That night, Night Sorrow didn't leave. He stayed at Yang Lei's place. What they didn't know was that a fire phoenix flew over and landed some distance away from Danding City. A woman wearing a bamboo hat entered the city, found a beast carriage, and left Danding City. After cultivating for a night, Yang Lei asked Shen Ziming to bring the disciples to Longquan Courtyard. She didn't want to stay in the mansion, so she wanted to bring the disciples to Longquan Courtyard to cultivate. After all, Longquan Courtyard was big. Even if they didn't use it, they would be free. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei arrived first. Shen Ziming brought over 30 disciples and rode the beast carriage. When Yang Lei saw Hua Yunping, she was shocked. The previous Valley Master, the current Grand Elder, was actually staying at Night Sorrow's place. She also knew that this was a peak stage 5 practitioner. In the Medicine Valley, he was definitely the number one person. Even the Grand Elder of the Medicine Valley couldn't compare to him. One must know that after entering the 5th Order, every step forward was extremely difficult. A mid-5th Order killing an early 5th Order was as easy as chopping vegetables. How strong was Hua Yunping at the peak of the 5th Order? Yang Lei did not know. Seeing Hua Yunping, Night Sorrow cupped his hands. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and then bowed. Yang Lei, you're not as good as your junior brother in this aspect. Just say hello and let me know that you're here. There's no need to be so formal. Hua Yunping said with a smile. Disciple understands. Yang Lei nodded. Aren't you the city lord of Danding City? Are you very free? Hua Yunping asked. Yes, I've arranged everything for the 2 vice city lords, as well as the elders and protectors. They're in charge of the area. If something happens, I'll look for them. So disciple has nothing to do. Yang Lei said with some embarrassment. This is the way of managing people. Not bad. Hua Yunping didn't blame Yang Lei. Instead, he felt that Yang Lei did a good job. Night Sorrow didn't stay with Hua Yunping and Yang Lei for long. He played with the silver fox cub for a while and then went to cultivate. In the following days, Night Sorrow stayed at the Dragon Spring Courtyard to cultivate. When he was cultivating his battle skills, he brought Tianyu and the silver fox to the Celestial Lake to cultivate. This cultivation lasted for more than half a month. Night Sorrow's cultivation level rose sharply. Although he was still some distance away from the 9th level of Element Gathering Realm and the 6th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm, he wasn't far away. Yang Lei told Night Sorrow that the Spirit Gathering Formation at Taishan Peak was about to open. She asked Night Sorrow if he wanted to go. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow decided not to go. The Spirit Gathering Formation wasn't as effective as the one at Danding Cliff. If they were comparing the speed of absorbing energy, the spirit gathering formation was faster. However, after absorbing energy, one's cultivation level would be unstable. It wasn't as solid as the one at Danding Cliff. Moreover, the absorption speed at Danding Cliff wasn't slow either. Night Sorrow had been back at the Dragon Spring Courtyard for more than half a month. He planned to return to Danding Cliff to cultivate and raise his cultivation level to the 9th level of Element Gathering Realm and the 6th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm. You have the authority to cultivate without limit at Danding Cliff. Indeed, you don't need to care about the opening of the Spirit Gathering Formation, Yang Lei said with a smile. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Yang Lei led her disciples to Taishan Peak. Night Sorrow didn't care about this opportunity, but Yang Lei's disciples all needed it. After Yang Lei left, Night Sorrow and Hua Yunping stayed together and drank tea. Night Sorrow, this silver fox isn't simple. You need to stay by his side often. You don't need to do anything. Just let him get familiar with you. In the future, he'll be of help to you. But it's not very convenient. Night Sorrow was a bit worried. The beast-taming space Jianyu was given to him by Taizang. How could he still have a beast-taming space crystal? I don't have a beast-taming space crystal here. How about this, I'll give you some spirit stones. Go to Tianji Tower and exchange for one. Hua Yunping smiled and took out a few high-grade crystals. And / spirit stones can be exchanged. Then I have some here. There's no need to trouble Grand Elder. Night Sorrow said. He really didn't lack spirit stones. In Lu Shan Venerable's cave, he had obtained quite a lot of spirit stones. Take it. These spirit stones are useless to me. You can use them. I want to remind you that there must be a limit to your cultivation. Go to Danding Cliff and raise your cultivation level. Stabilize it for 2 days and come back. Don't just stay up there and not come back down, Hua Yunping said. Grand Elder, but I'm really in a hurry to enter the core formation realm, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 196. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything from Hua Yunping and told him about his plan to get the attention of the Black Organization of Tianji Tower. Now that it's a purple organization, it's indeed necessary to break through the Black Organization. Tianji Tower is a force that has 9 regions and 18 prefectures. If our Medicine Valley has someone in it, it'll be good for the Medicine Valley. However, I still think that you don't have to destroy your foundation just because you're in a hurry. Hua Yunping still insisted on his opinion. Okay, I'll listen to you. Night Sorrow nodded. Hua Yunping wouldn't harm him. Since he said so, it made sense. Your cultivation speed and experience are obvious. They're blind if they don't want you. Hua Yunping said. Disciple will keep Grand Elder's words in mind. Yi Shang bowed and said. After bidding farewell to Hua Yunping, Night Sorrow took Silver Fox and Tianyu to Tianji Tower in Danding City. He exchanged a beast-taming crystal with Enforcer Dong and then went to Danding Cliff in the Medicine Valley. You're here again. Take it easy, Lu Qinyun said. Just then, a person walked out of the thatched hut in Danding Cliff. Night Sorrow recognized this person. He was Elder Su, who was originally guarding this place. At this time, Elder Su's aura had changed. The aura of a sunset was gone. Instead, it was a violent aura. Thank you, Elder Su said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow returned the gesture. He knew that Elder Su had successfully entered the 5th rank and had a long lifespan. Then, he let Tianyu and Silver Fox enter the beast-taming crystal. Night Sorrow began to climb Danding Cliff. When Night Sorrow reached the 4,800-meter platform, he didn't continue climbing and began to cultivate. He continued to climb. Night Sorrow felt that it was very difficult. The 5,000-meter platform wasn't suitable for cultivation because there was no pressure. He still had to come down a little. Watching Night Sorrow cultivate, Elder Sue and Lu Qinyun looked at each other. This guy still treats cultivation as food. The Medicine Valley has a successor, Elder Sue said. Night Sorrow didn't know about their evaluation of him. He was cultivating on the platform at 4,800 meters. If it was in the past, Night Sorrow would have caused a stir among the other disciples who came to cultivate. But now, it was no longer the case. Everyone knew that there was a special person like Night Sorrow in the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow was the same as before. He would cultivate his Jin Qi and the myriad Taoist tome for a while, and then he would cultivate his spear arts and fist arts for a while. He would consume his energy and then continue cultivating. When he was thirsty or hungry, he would eat fasting pills and drink some wine. On the fourth day of Night Sorrow's cultivation, someone came to the platform he was on. Looking at the person, Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. Then, he cupped his hands and said, "Night Sorrow greets Senior Sister Lin." It was a woman. She was Lin Jingyi, a disciple of Yi Xiling, the Crepe Myrtle Peak Master. She was also the woman who didn't have a good impression of Night Sorrow. "I heard that you reached the 5,000-meter platform. Why are you lying here now?" Lin Jingyi looked at Night Sorrow calmly. It was hard to tell whether she was happy or angry. "This place is already very suitable for me." "There's nothing good up there," Night Sorrow answered. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Night Sorrow for a while. "I don't understand. Why don't you like me?" "Senior Sister Lin, what are you talking about?" "I just don't want to leave Taishan Peak." "It has nothing to do with anything else," Night Sorrow said with a bitter smile. "But everyone in Medicine Valley knows that Night Sorrow doesn't like women from Crepe Myrtle." "This is a fact," Lin Jingyi said. "Then Senior Sister Lin, what do you think I should do? Should I go to Crepe Myrtle one day and apologize?" Night Sorrow thought for a while and sighed. "Let me think about it. Anyway, this matter isn't over so easily. I'm the only one who doesn't like you. Why don't you like me?" Lin Jingyi snorted coldly. True Qi burst out of her body and she floated up. She only grabbed with her hands and kicked with her legs. Night Sorrow looked up and was stunned. Because the weather was hot, Lin Jingyi was wearing a skirt. Night Sorrow could see her white legs very clearly. Unfortunately, Lin Jingyi turned her head and looked down. The two of them looked at each other from top to bottom. Then Lin Jingyi realized something was wrong. She pressed her skirt with one hand and landed on the platform 4,900 meters above. "Night Sorrow, you're a pervert. You and I can't exist under the same sky." Night Sorrow had the urge to vomit blood. "What the hell is going on? I didn't mean it, but in fact, I did have a pervert's behavior." Unable to talk back, Night Sorrow could only continue to meditate and ignore Lin Jingyi's words. "Explain. How can I explain this kind of thing clearly?" Lin Jingyi's roar surprised the disciples who were cultivating at Danding Cliff. They didn't know what was going on. Some time ago, there was a crazy rumor that Night Sorrow didn't like the girl from Crepe Myrtle. But now it wasn't the case. Lin Jingyi and Night Sorrow were only 100 meters apart. Something must have happened. Otherwise, Lin Jingyi could have chosen to scold Night Sorrow when she wasn't at his height. Or she could have scolded Night Sorrow when they were at the same height. What's going on now? The most important thing was what Lin Jingyi said. She said that Night Sorrow was a pervert. If they were enemies, if they were rivals, she wouldn't have scolded him like that. It was like flirting. "You little bastard, you little pervert. Why aren't you talking?" Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't explain, Lin Jingyi was even angrier. She was sure that Night Sorrow had seen something he shouldn't have. She didn't know how to explain, so she didn't speak. Night Sorrow pretended that he didn't hear anything. He just didn't reply. Night Sorrow didn't reply. She calmed down. Then she realized that her words were inappropriate. The disciples from the other platforms were looking over. She spat at Night Sorrow. Lin Jingyi had no choice but to go up. Ahem. Yishang, this brat, is quite popular with women, Elder Su said with a smile. He became famous at a young age. How can he not attract women? Little bastard, little pervert. Ha, interesting. I wonder how Valley Master would feel if he knew. Lu Qinyun said with a smile. If Xiling knew, it would be interesting. Elder Su nodded. The Xiling he was talking about was Crepe Myrtle's peak master, Yi Xiling. At a height of 5,700 meters, there were people from Tai Xian Peak, Mo Qin, and Chu Lingfei. They had come together to practice cultivation. They didn't know what had happened, but they knew that Yi Shang had provoked Lin Jingyi from Crepe Myrtle Peak. Just as the two were looking at each other, Lin Jingyi arrived at a platform not far from them. Senior Sister Lin, what's going on? Why are you so angry? Mo Qin greeted. Go back and ask your pervert junior brother what he did. Lin Jingyi said angrily. Chapter 197. If you have time, why don't you ask your precious junior brother what he did? Lin Jingyi yelled angrily. Mo Qin sighed. Senior Sister Lin, let's be frank. It was your idea to ask Night Sorrow to go to Crepe Myrtle. It was also your idea to ask him to have 10 wives. Night Sorrow didn't want to leave Taixian Peak because he looked down on you. Isn't that a bit far-fetched? In that case, don't you think that my master thinks highly of him by offering such a condition? Who else in the Medicine Valley is qualified to do so? He didn't appreciate it. If that's not looking down on him, then what is it? My master asked me to receive him, but how did he treat me? Lin Jingyi said angrily. From your point of view, he was wronged. But from my junior brother's point of view, he didn't do anything wrong. Isn't that right? Mo Qin was also a bit conflicted. It wasn't easy to reason this out. Women cared about face. Night Sorrow didn't want to go to Crepe Myrtle, which was a slap to Lin Jingyi's face. Lin Jingyi was known as the youngest and most outstanding second-generation disciple of Crepe Myrtle. Let's not talk about this. He was just being a hooligan. If you don't believe me, you can ask him yourself. Anyway, this isn't over. Lin Jingyi continued to rush up, but she used her true qi to push Luo Kun up. What should we do? Mo Qin looked at Chu Lingfei. There might be something we don't know. Let's go and ask. Chu Lingfei didn't have any good ideas. She could only ask Night Sorrow. When the two arrived at the platform where Night Sorrow was, they directly asked. Night Sorrow didn't know how to answer. He could only lower his head and remain silent. 13, just say it. What's the matter? Senior brothers and senior sisters will make the decision for you. Seeing that Yi Shang wasn't speaking, Mo Qin was a bit anxious. She's right. I'm a hooligan. Night Sorrow said angrily. You're a hooligan. Crepe Myrtle Peak offered 10 wives and you rejected them all. Who would believe that you're a rogue? What's going on? Mo Qin asked with a frown. Senior apprentice Sister Lin was climbing up from here. I looked up and saw that she was wearing a skirt. Yi Shan hesitantly recounted what had just happened. Mo Qin didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say. Finally, he looked at Chu Lingfei. Lingfei, let's continue to cultivate. And don't waste your merit points. 11th senior brother, didn't you say you'd help me? Seeing Mo Chin and Chu Lingfei fly up hand in hand, Yi Shan grew anxious. As for the others, it's useless even if you look for eldest senior brother. Mo Chin left Yi Shan with his back and a few words. When they returned to the original platform, Mo Chin and Chu Lingfei looked at each other and smiled. They knew that this wasn't a big deal. Lin Jingyi wouldn't make a big deal out of it. She was a person who cared a lot about her reputation. If she couldn't accept this, she would at most kick Night Sorrow a couple of times. If it's possible, let Master propose marriage for 13. Senior sister Lin is only a few years older than 13. In the world of cultivation, a few years is nothing. Both of them have high aptitudes. It won't be a problem for them to reach the 5th level in the future. In the hundreds of years of life, supporting each other is the most important thing. Chu Lingfei said. What Chu Lingfei said was the truth. Only ordinary people cared about age when they got married. Cultivators cared about how far they could go together. A void inquiry stage cultivator would certainly not marry a essence gathering realm cultivator. The difference in lifespan between the two was too big. That's impossible. Mo Chin shook his head. Why is it impossible? Chu Lingfei asked, puzzled. When she arrived at the Dragon Spring courtyard, Sikong Chuyu had already left. Therefore, she did not know who Sikong Chuyu was. Mo Chin told her about the relationship between Sikong Chuyu and Night Sorrow. You're saying that 13 like Sikong Chuyu? Chu Lingfei asked. Mo Chin shook his head. I don't know. 13 might not know either. But with Sikong Chuyu's existence, it's hard for him to accept other women. Chu Lingfei shook her head. She was also helpless. No one could help Night Sorrow with this matter. After cultivating for half a month at Pill Cauldron Cliff, Night Sorrow's cultivation base had reached the peak of the 8th level of Essence Gathering Realm. His Myriad Dao scripture had also reached the peak of the 6th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm. Night Sorrow did not plan to stay at the 4,800-meter platform. He directly rushed to the 4,900-meter platform. Then, he recovered to his best state and charged towards the 5,000-meter platform. Last time, Night Sorrow originally could not reach the 5,000-meter platform. It was only because he was stimulated by Lin Tianjue that he managed to do so. This time, Night Sorrow's cultivation base and Myriad Dao scripture had improved by quite a lot. After charging with all his strength, Night Sorrow rushed to the 5,000-meter platform. On the 5,000-meter platform, he cultivated until the sky turned dark. After glancing around and making sure that there was no one cultivating and that there was no one climbing below, Night Sorrow decided to enter seclusion to break through. Pill Cauldron Cliff was the best place to cultivate in the Medicine Valley. Although it was not helpful for advancing, it was indeed the best place to improve and stabilize one's cultivation base. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow wanted to break through here. After breaking through, it would be a good place to stabilize one's cultivation base. When Night Sorrow was breaking through, Mo Chen, Chu Lingfei, Gong Xian and the others were standing in front of the Spirit Gathering Formation at Taishan Peak. The third-generation disciples had been in there for half a month. It was after they went in that Mo Chen and Chu Lingfei came to Pill Cauldron Cliff to cultivate for a few days. Since they had nothing to do, Mo Chen told them about Lin Jingyi's dissatisfaction with Night Sorrow and the reason why. What is this about? Aoi was a little helpless. Not to mention other things, Night Sorrow was indeed in the wrong for seeing something he should not have seen. No matter where he went, he could not explain it. Yang Lei snorted and said, "It's nothing. She can do whatever she wants. She was the one who didn't dress properly. Who can she blame? 13 didn't want to see it. Ninth junior sister, you are being unreasonable, Huanan said with a smile. Reasonable? How is this unreasonable? It was Crepe Myrtle who was unreasonable first, okay? If you don't join them, you are looking down on them. Then if they shout, all the disciples of the Medicine Valley will leave their original peaks and go to them. If you don't go, you are not giving them face. Does everyone have to go? Yang Lei glanced at Huanan and said. Ninth junior sister's words are not very pleasant to hear, but they are reasonable. Let's not interfere in this matter for now. Let them do what they want. It will be fine as long as we don't force 13 to do anything, Gong Xian said. Eldest senior brother, we can't interfere now. Some gossipy disciples talk about this every day. I think Crepe Myrtle will not tolerate it. Even if they don't deal with 13 halfway, I think Master Yi and senior sister Tang Chanqian will have other tricks up their sleeves, Mo Chen said. Chapter 198. In the span of 2 nights, Night Sorrow raised his cultivation level to the 9th level of Element Gathering tier and the 6th level of Muscle Strengthening tier. At the same time, he also stabilized his cultivation level. After cultivating to this level, Night Sorrow did not intend to continue staying at Danding Cliff. Hua Yunpeng had reminded him that it wasn't appropriate for him to cultivate too quickly. With a wave of his arm, he summoned Tianyu. Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on Tianyu's back. Then, he flew directly toward Taixian Peak. This made the disciples of the Medicine Valley at the foot of Danding Cliff very envious. Those who had flying beasts were so free and easy. They could come and go by flying. Other than that, the others couldn't fly as they pleased like Night Sorrow. When they came, they had to register their identity plates and merit points. The elders guarding Danding Cliff would remind them how much merit points they had and how long they could stay. If one dared to lie down on Danding Cliff without any merit points, the consequences would be severe. When they left, they would have to settle the score. There was no need for Night Sorrow. He did not need contribution points to cultivate at Danding Cliff, nor did he need to register or settle accounts. Looking at Night Sorrow riding Tianyu away, the disciples of the Medicine Valley were envious. However, there were also some who were angry. This was the disciple of Crepe Myrtle. Tang Chanqian, Lin Jingyi and Lan Yu were at the bottom of Danding Cliff. Tang Chanqian and Lin Jingyi had come to settle the score with Night Sorrow, while Lan Yu had come to watch the show. However, Night Sorrow had ridden Tianyu to escape, not giving them a chance. Chase him. Lan Yu was not afraid of the chaos, so she immediately urged her master and martial uncle. XV$A is the only 0Q1B original 7 version carrot, and the others are all pirated carrot. His demonic beast is fast. Your master and your martial uncle's mounts are as fast as it. How can we catch up to Taixian Peak? Tang Chanqian looked at Lan Yu angrily. Are we just going to let him run away? Lan Yu asked. Junior sister, what do you think? This matter is actually a matter of wrangling. No one can say who is right or wrong. Even if we stop him, there is no good way to solve it. If you feel that you are at a disadvantage, then let Master go to the Valley Master and ask him to come to Crepe Myrtle to propose marriage. Tang Chanqian said with a smile. No, I want to take care of her. Hearing Tang Chanqian's words, Lin Jingyi blushed and hurriedly objected. That's true. You don't even like a little brat. Then I'll go back first. But Jingyi, let me remind you. Even if you catch him, you can't go too far. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. If you really make Taixian Peak angry and have a conflict with Crepe Myrtle, neither you nor I can bear the responsibility. Tang Chanqian reminded Lin Jingyi before she left. To be able to manage Crepe Myrtle, Tang Chanqian wasn't a brainless person. She could deal with Night Sorrow by doing something harmless. But if she went too far, then it would be a big problem. How could she expect Taishan Peak to tolerate it? Gong Xian, Yang Lei, and Hua Nan were all bad-tempered. If she went too far, Taishan Peak would definitely retaliate. Martial uncle, what do you think we should do? If we continue to cause trouble, it will become a big problem. Lan Yu said with a smile. Are you gloating? Lin Jingyi turned around and glared at Lan Yu. After returning to Taishan Peak's bamboo grove, they didn't see anyone. After asking around, Night Sorrow also went to the place where the spirit gathering formation was located. 13 is here. 9th level of element gathering formation. Very good. Yang Lei went to Night Sorrow's side and patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. She put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder to make herself more comfortable. There's nothing to say about this speed. There's no precedent like this in the Medicine Valley. However, 13, your 9th senior sister is so close to you. If your 9th senior sister's husband finds out in the future, it'll be easy for him to destroy you, Shi Tianlin said with a smile. Now, half of Yang Lei's body was supporting Night Sorrow's shoulder. Dare. If anyone dares to bully 13, I will not let them go. 8th senior brother, you are picking a fight. Yang Lei glared at Shi Tianlin with her beautiful eyes. 13, the last level of every level is a crucial stage, especially from element gathering formation to core formation. You have to go through it steadily. Gong Xian reminded Night Sorrow. He was the eldest senior brother and had the responsibility to teach Night Sorrow. Thank you for your reminder, eldest senior brother. I will pay attention. When I reach the peak of 9th level of element gathering formation, I will go to Danding Cliff to consolidate my cultivation. I will not easily touch the core formation stage. Night Sorrow nodded. Also, when this batch of disciples comes out, we will arrange for them to return home. You should also go back to your hometown. After all, you have been out for more than a year, Gong Xian said. Will 6th senior sister and 9th senior sister still come with me? Night Sorrow asked. Okay, but we have to arrange for the disciples first. It will be better to give some to the other senior brothers and junior brothers. It will be easier for us, Aoi said after thinking for a while. During the disciple recruitment ceremony a few days ago, Taishan Peak accepted a few hundred people. Originally, it was divided among Wu Qi, Nan Nan, and the others. However, Gong Xian asked for half of it back and gave it to the other second-generation disciples of Taishan Peak. However, it was inappropriate for Yang Yu's disciple not to give it to the other second-generation disciples. Yang Lei's disciples were also taken away when they returned to Taishan Peak. Before the apprenticeship ceremony, it was normal for disciples to be swapped. How about this, senior brothers and junior brothers, you guys take care of the other directions. 9th junior sister and I will take the route between Red Flame City and South Sky City, Aoi said. That's fine. We have few inner disciples here. Let Su Zhonglin help arrange more. Gong Xian nodded. It was easier for the newcomers of other peaks to return home. There were many outer disciples and law enforcement disciples were enough to accompany them. However, Taishan Peak was different. There were no outer disciples other than the second-generation disciples. Night Sorrow did not continue to stay there. He planned to leave since the spirit gathering formation would not be completed for half a month. 13. It's troublesome for you to feed Tianyu every day. Senior sister has refined a beast pill. You can feed Tianyu with it. Aoi took out a bottle of pills and handed it to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and took it. He knew about the beast pill. It was a level 3 pill for tamed beasts. It could provide the tamed beasts with energy to survive and grow. Night Sorrow also wanted to refine it, but he did not have the ability to do so at the moment. Go back to the Longquan courtyard. Don't run around. Sometimes, you are not the one looking for trouble, but the one looking for trouble. Besides, I heard that the Qing Shui sect has learned that you cut off one of their young master's arms. They came to the sect to ask for him some time ago, Gong Xian said. They wanted to rob 13. How dare they come to us after suffering a loss? Yang Lei was a little angry. The Qing Shui sect did not think so much. They may think that 13 is just an ordinary disciple. They are feeling superior now because the Golden Flame sect has been trying to win them over. They think they are qualified to challenge our Medicine Valley. Gong Xian said with light flashing in his eyes. The Qing Shui sect did not understand the situation and jumped around randomly, which had aroused Gong Xian's anger. What did Master say? Huanan asked. Chapter 199. The Qing Shui sect is getting out of hand. We should take some time to deal with them, said Huanan. It's my fault again. Night Sorrow was a little depressed. The Golden Flame sect declared war on the Medicine Valley when he cut off one of Zhangping's arms. Now that he cut off one of Miao Shaojuan's arms, they also came to him. It's not your fault. If someone bullies you, you should fight back, said Wu Qi while looking at Night Sorrow. Don't cut off the arms next time. Just cut off the heads. They are all bastards. If we don't teach them a lesson, they will forget their names, said Aoi. But it's all my fault, said Night Sorrow guiltily. Gong Xian then explained to Night Sorrow that the Medicine Valley would take action against the Qing Shui sect no matter what happened. The Qing Shui sect and the Golden Flame sect had bad intentions. The Medicine Valley would not allow the Qing Shui sect to join forces with the Golden Flame sect to overthrow the Medicine Valley's ruling position in this area. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow left the Taixian Peak with Tianyu and headed for the Longquan Villa. It was dark when he returned to the Longquan Villa. Night Sorrow was surprised when he did not see Hua Yunping when he went to the dining room for dinner. He remembered that Hua Yunping used to come to the dining room for dinner on time. Hi Luo, didn't you see the Grand Elder? Night Sorrow asked while eating. I haven't seen him for 2 days. But when I went to clean the room, I found his robe was still there. He shouldn't have left, said Hai Luo. Okay. Night Sorrow nodded and continued eating. Young master, your robe is really beautiful, said Hai Luo while looking at Night Sorrow. Really? I think it's very comfortable. Night Sorrow smiled and released the silver fox cub at the same time. Night Sorrow could not release it when they were outside, but he could do it when they were back in the Longquan Villa. Silver Fox, who was released, jumped excitedly onto Night Sorrow's shoulder. It wasn't small anymore. It was more than 3 feet long, but its weight was nothing. Night Sorrow let it continue to lie on his shoulder. It didn't affect his eating. At night, he cultivated his genuine qi and the myriad Tao Tome. During the day, he cultivated his spear art and fist art. During the Night Sorrow, he played with Tianyu and Silver Fox. His days were rather leisurely. On this day, Night Sorrow was cultivating the Annihilation Fist art when he suddenly sensed something was wrong. He noticed that the energy in and around the monastery had become berserk. Even the sky was churning with energy that was rushing towards the celestial lake. This situation made Night Sorrow extremely shocked. He immediately dashed towards the celestial lake. Night Sorrow didn't know what was going on when he arrived near Skywater Lake. He could only feel the energy gathering towards a certain area of Skywater Lake. Just as Night Sorrow was about to continue searching for the source of the energy stabilized. The celestial lake returned to its calm state, and the surroundings of the Longquan Villa were once again sunny. This made Night Sorrow very puzzled. However, he didn't think too much about it and returned to the martial arts field to continue cultivating. When it was time for dinner, Hua Yunping appeared. Seeing that Hua Yunping had returned, Night Sorrow stood up and greeted him. Yonggi Jiu Free P***, look at little $Z says not bad, you're at the peak of the elemental gathering realm. You can cultivate while slowly stabilizing your cultivation, Hua Yunping said as he sat opposite Night Sorrow. Grand Elder Hua, you seem to have changed, Night Sorrow looked at Hua Yunping and said. Your senses are very accurate. I felt something from your body, so I completed a breakthrough, Hua Yunping said with a smile. Congratulations, Grand Elder. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Hua Yunping. Night Sorrow was extremely shocked. He knew that Hua Yunping had reached the peak of the 5th rank long ago. If Hua Yunping said that he had broken through, then he must have entered the 6th rank of Venerable Realm. Actually, I should thank you. First of all, you found the Holy Cauldron scripture. Secondly, I also felt something from you, so I naturally crossed the bottleneck, Hua Yunping helped Night Sorrow up and said. Congratulations, Grand Elder, Aoi and Yang Lei also came at this time. They were very happy to hear Hua Yunping's words. You're here. Sit down and have a few drinks with me, Hua Yunping said. He was very happy that he had crossed the bottleneck for many years. 6th Senior Sister, we don't have to worry about the Golden Flame sect making trouble now that we're at war with the Green Water sect, Yang Lei said. What's going on? Hua Yunping asked with a frown. Then Yang Lei told him about the recent movements of the Medicine Valley and the Golden Flame sect. There's no need to start a war. It's a big deal that the Grand Elder has succeeded in his breakthrough. As long as we announce it and hold a celebration in the Medicine Valley, the Green Water sect will naturally behave, Aoi said. 6th Senior Sister, the Grand Elder has just advanced. If we announce it, won't it be troublesome if the veteran Venerable Realm of the Golden Flame sect comes to fight? They're good at eliminating hidden dangers in advance. Yang Lei was a little worried that the Golden Flame sect would attack Hua Yunping who had just advanced. Don't be afraid. Although I've just advanced, they can't kill me easily. After entering the Venerable Realm, even if the 8-Dragon Cauldron doesn't approve of me, I can still activate part of its power. If the Golden Flame sect wants to fight, let them come, Hua Yunping said with confidence in his eyes. That's great. Our Medicine Valley finally has the ability to intimidate others. In the future, 13, you don't have to be restrained anymore. If anyone dares to provoke you, just kill them, Yang Lei said happily. Needless to say, this conflict has something to do with you, right? Hua Yunping looked at Night Sorrow with a smile and asked. Night Sorrow was a little helpless. He could only say that he had chopped off Miao Shaojuan's arm. It's fine. If you have anything to do in the future, just do it. I'll make the decision for you, Hua Yunping said to Night Sorrow. After drinking some wine, Hua Yunping left. His advancement was not only his own business, but also a big deal for the Medicine Valley. Announcing it to the world might bring him death, but he wasn't afraid. The Medicine Valley needed him to stand up for it. That's great. The Medicine Valley finally doesn't have to suffer anymore, Yang Lei said excitedly. Then Yang Lei and Aoi said that they were here to bring their disciples back home. However, this time, they didn't do it themselves. They directly asked the Taishan Peak's outer court manager to handle it. In addition, they also asked the Yunhai Peak's forces in the secular world to escort them. This time, not many disciples of the Yunhai Peak returned home, so the outer court disciples of the Yunhai Peak in Danding City had nothing to do. The next day, when Night Sorrow, Aoi, and Yang Lei arrived in Danding City, they received the news from the Medicine Valley. The Medicine Valley's great elder had entered the Venerable Realm, and the celebration would be held in a month. The news spread in all directions. Everyone knew that this was the Medicine Valley's way of showing off their strength. This was the Venerable Realm's deterrence. They also knew that this was a storm. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.